Right on.
It kind of sucks, man. I'm in like 2 publications and I can't use my audience for the other one.
I know.
Substack needs to really get their act together, bro.
See,
real.
that's where, I mean, we could import them, but I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that either.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I
do that.
don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't feel right doing that from Gen XE. I don't think we should do that. The
Yeah.
good news is Nick's audience and my audience got notifications we're going live. And then when I go live, Gen XE won't get the notification, but Frederic, your audience will. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah,
Well,
it's
hey, listen.
And Banner and Backbone's audience will get notified the whole time.
every time, and it will grow throughout the day. But
Yep.
Hey, there you go.
Fred.
I mean, and we're gonna break it up into 4-hour chunks. So, welcome everybody to the inaugural launch of Banner and Backbone.
Woo.
And you
Banner
are
and
looking at
Backbone.
the 3 co-founders of Banner and Backbone. Myself, Frederic Poag from Mrs. from Middle Aged Man. Nick Paro from
Sick of this
Sick of
shit
This
with
Shit.
Nick.
Yep, Sick of This Shit with Nick. And Lawrence Winnerman of like, how many are you? You've got a fiction. You've got
14
dirty.
different things.
Yeah, you've got like Dirty Talk with Fusin. You've got Gen XE.
Yeah,
Like,
so Gen XE with Dana is a publication. Lawrence Winnerman Science Fiction is a publication. And Dirty Talk with Fusin is just a show. We don't have a publication. But now that you mention it, Fred, that's a great idea. I think Fusin and I are going to do that after
good.
this, 24 hours from now.
I think I am going to start introducing you, Lawrence, as like, was it? I'm going to do it as Banner and Backbone's own Lawrence Winnerman, Mr. Substack himself, baby. You are at this point. You are Mr. Substack at this
Do you
point.
ever have that dream where thousands of naked people are throwing those little cocktail weenies at you as you stand on top of a giant pyramid?
No.
I think I normally get tacos thrown at me, but
Also,
instead of
I love Real Genius. By the way.
Thank you for getting that, Frederic Poag with the win, everybody.
I love Real Genius. If you have
Also,
not seen Real
strangely, I want
Genius,
those little cocktail weenies right now, or pigs in a blanket.
right?
Oh yeah.
It's like, do you ever have a dream where you're standing in robes of a sun god and thousands of naked women are throwing little pickles at you? No. Why am I the only one that has that same dream?
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Is it little? Yeah. Well,
Is it little pickles or is it that cucumber
He
that's
says
been rubbed in
little
sandpaper?
pickles.
Little pickles. All right.
He says little pickle. I think little
stand
weenies.
corrected.
It's either little weenies or little pickles, but it's a small penis joke, which is amazing.
What are we doing, bro?
What are we doing here? So let's talk about what Banner and Backbone is. So Banner and Backbone, Nick and Lawrence and I, we done lives on here. We have our own channels, and we've talked to each other. And one of the things that we keep coming back to over and over is the need for really civic education, civic awareness, awareness of our constitutional rights, which are being trampled more and more every day. And so that's why we organized Banner and Backbone. And it's the brainchild of all of us. Because we were trying to think, like, what can we do to help this country? What can, like, we're not the protest in the street kind of people. We're not, but we're passionate, each one of us, about where we're at in this country. And today we've picked bringing awareness to the release of the Epstein files. Because for us, what it really boils down to for our leadership is transparency and accountability. And we don't have that. That has been lost. And it's been lost because one party refuses to do it. Because look who their leader is. And that's what we are. We're bringing awareness to that. That's why we said, hey, we're going to do 24 hours. So kind of how this is going to work is it's not going to be on all one of us, right? Well, like one of us isn't going to do the whole thing, just like it is in the US and what we're doing now. It's not all up to the single individual. We're each going to take 4-hour blocks, and it's going to total up to 24 hours. So I am leading the first 4-hour block, and hopefully we have some amazing guests for you. We've got several that are already lined up, and yeah, we're gonna be here until 11 a.m. tomorrow. Someone from Banner and Backbone will be on a live on Substack on Banner and Backbone.
for the next 24 hours straight. At least
24
one of
hours.
us, but more than likely two of us at
Two
a
or
Yeah.
three.
time,
Yeah. Yeah.
or three. And like Fred said, we're going to have some incredible guests throughout the day. And might I add, Fred, maybe Banner and Backbone is our effort, not maybe. It is our effort in restoring integrity, service, and ethics back into the American ethos because it's something that we have lost as a society. And it's
Yes.
something that we need to reignite, reforge some new backbone and raise a couple new banners because guess what, guys? It ain't doing it itself. That people keep telling us you are the one. Like,
Mhm.
nobody's going to come save us. NATO's not coming. European allies aren't coming. Others aren't coming. They won't come unless we're willing to save ourselves too.
Right.
We must start that effort. And that's what civics is. Civics is re engaging in democracy because democracy is people, and
Yes.
people power democracy, and our communities are what make this strong. And when we grow stronger, and it's the answer to why don't we go out and just shoot our neighbors, is because our neighbors are the democracy. They're our friends, they're our families. The Nazis this time around are going to be our neighbors. So, what can we do? We can prevent it. We can stop more of them from joining by building our community stronger, restore integrity, build service, and regain ethics. And that's why
Mhm.
we're here.
Yep. And I listen, y'all know me. I can go on a rant on occasion.
No,
You know, I get my
can
southern
you?
I
Can you?
can. I get my southern blood up. But I'm not here to preach at you today. No, no, brothers and sisters. I'm here to testify. I'm here to be a pastor for patriotism. I'm here to be a deacon for democracy because we can't lose hope, brothers and sisters. That's what they want. They want us to feel helpless. They want us to feel hopeless. They want us bamboozled and mystified by the bullshit. But we ain't gonna do it. Because wait a minute. Wait a minute. The day of accountability is coming like a thief in the night because we're going to rise up. That's right, brothers and sisters. We're going to rise because Banner and Backbone is here. We're going to keep the faith. Oh, yes. And we're going to defend democracy. We're going to keep the faith in each other, in our communities, and in our country. Can I get an amen? Hallelujah.
Amen, brother.
Brother.
Hallelujah. Woo.
Damn.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
You know why we're going to be successful? Because the three of us love a fucking microphone, and
Right.
Frederic Poag has got to be the biggest ham bone I have ever met in my entire goddamn life.
Facts. I mean, I'm on
Facts,
that.
truth,
Facts.
truth. This is
100%.
why we're here, guys. And in all of it, friends, like the the onus of all of this is on us. That's why we're here. Like Fred said, we're not the ones who can always make it out to protest. I can't. I'm disabled.
Nope.
I have like I stand all day in one place or I sit down all day at my desk when I do these things. I can't always go out. I broke. I'm a broke motherfucker sometimes.
Same.
But not all of you are. Not all of you are. And if one of you goes out and becomes civically engaged, that's a win. Because if one of
Yes.
you goes out and talks to your neighbor, that's one more person who's engaged now. And that's now two. Because, like someone said, one plus one is still two and
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to change. And that too grows exponentially when we all join together and we all begin to participate, when we all take care of our local communities. So there's a lot we're going to be doing throughout all of this. Like one of the things, one of our guests we're going to be bringing on is Melissa Corrigan. She
Mm-hmm.
is an incredible veteran and advocate. And she and I have been discussing on ways that we can help make what we're doing here really, really impactful. And so, one of the things we haven't said yet is all profit from today's and tomorrow. So, we have a 24-hour sale going on for 80% off. All profit from this sale will go to an Epstein related, victim related fund
Yep.
for justice, either
100%.
And we have not figured out, we don't know exactly which, but we are going to be working with creators that we know. Hopefully, we can start working with someone like Allison Gill, who's requesting the release of the FOIA, is doing a FOIA request to
Yep.
get the FBI training documents out that relate to redacting Trump's name from the Epstein files. We're going to be doing things like that. The proceeds from this are not going, the profit from this is not for us. The
No.
profit for this is for all of us. It's for the entire country, because what can we do right now? We can continually demand the Epstein files until they fucking come out and never stop doing it. Sonny, you asked me earlier, we're going to get into it a lot later. You asked me earlier why, or can we talk about the Putin meeting? Yes.
Yes. Oh, of
And
course.
why that happened? Yes. We're not going to get into it right now because it's too early and it's too big of a deal to just talk about in a 5 minute segment. It's going to take some time. But going back to Melissa, one of the things that we are doing is Melissa and I have been talking about even more ways that we can be impactful with Banner and Backbone. And so we are looking into how we can create this into also a foundation that we can all participate in to to funnel our money and use it appropriately, use it effectively, use it at our will, the people's will, not just the three of us, but the
Yeah.
people's will on where it should be directed,
Mhm.
where it can make the most impact, who we can help the most with it. Welcome to the live, Dean. It's good to have
Dean
you here, brother.
Blundell popping
Even
in.
our Canadian brothers are coming in. Our Canadian sisters are going to come in. Canadian others. We want Canada in because you know what? You're a beacon for democracy right now. And we can
Should
learn from the civic engagement you guys are doing and reignite our own. So
should we
help
make
us
space
do
for
that.
Dean Blundell? Should we make space for Dean? Does
Yeah,
Dean
Dean,
drop
want to
would
me.
you
come
like
on?
to jump in, brother? You're
Yeah,
more than
Yeah.
drop
welcome
me.
to.
You
Kick
know.
me out, Fred.
All
Welcome,
right. I'm
Dean.
kicking Lawrence out. I'm gonna put Dean in if he wants to come in.
Uh,
You know.
Uh, gone. One wizard down.
One
Two
wizard down.
remain.
I want to get Dean in since he's here. Like, let's not waste
Yeah,
this,
let's go.
man.
That's the whole point of this, guys. When people come in who want to be here with us, who are interested, who are on these same tracks and worlds, and if Dean comes in, fantastic. If not,
And if he doesn't,
fantastic
that's
too,
fine
because he's
too.
still here with us right now. And that's
Correct.
the fucking point, is we're
It's an open
building an
invite.
audience. Yeah, it's open for all. It's an audience for everyone so that we can all be in this discussion together, because if Canada demands it too, if Canada comes out and demands, we will not do trade, we will not participate with a pedophile in chief, that
Yep.
will send a point. That will send a fucking message. If Canada says no, if Mexico says no, if our allies say no and isolate us, yes, it sucks as Americans, but guess what, guys? They told us it was going to suck. There's only one way through, though. Fucking through.
That's
All
it.
the way. We
That's
don't
it.
stop halfway. We don't give up. We have to keep fucking going. The news is going to get worse a lot of days. It's going to get fucking rowdy. It's going to be shitty, but we gotta keep going, because
100%.
civics, what civics is engagement. It is being active, it is participating. People have forgotten that civics isn't this laud over you big concept of ideals that only politicians can engage in. It's everyday action, and that's what we're returning. So everyday action right now: demand the release of the Epstein files. Donald Trump, let him out. Pam
Yep.
Bondi, let him
Let
out.
him out.
If you don't want to do that, Cash Patel, Dan Bongino. I know y'all got podcasts you care about, and that's a conflict of interest, but who fucking cares? Let him out. Hey,
I just want him to
Democrats,
keep his promise. Keep your
I just
promise.
want you to keep your
Keep your
promise. You
promise.
promised us
You
that the
said you'd
Epstein
release him.
files would come out. All of them, unredacted. You said they would come out unredacted, unpurged, but you are purging them, Donald Trump. You are purging the files. You're a fraudster, you're a cheat, and you're a felon.
Yep.
We dissent, and this is our dissent.
100%.
And this is us standing up and rising to engage in civics on a local level, because local becomes national. And that's how we win.
We want what RISE stands for, that acronym, is we want to restore integrity, service, and ethics. That's what we want from our political leaders. That's what we want from our government. That's what we deserve as Americans. We cannot, we cannot have leaders that don't have these qualities. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because then what do you get? You get them rolling out the red carpet for a warmonger and a criminal and a terrorist like Vladimir Putin on U.S. soil.
On U.S. soil. Hey, Banner and Backbone's in the house. Look at that. Our own chat is in the house. Welcome, y'all. That's just me. I'm just having them in there just so that they join and you can see things. Guys, like, we allowed on U.S. soil
Yeah,
a war criminal,
war
like
criminal
somebody who is committing active war crimes. We let him onto U.S. soil.
against the people of Ukraine.
As part of our agreement and part of NATO is we should have arrested him
Right.
Yes,
immediately. We should have
yes.
arrested him and brought him to the Hague, but we didn't. We
Right.
didn't. We
And we
didn't.
got played.
Instead, we
Right.
had Putin it in the backseat of the fucking limo with Donald J. fucking Orange Tits McGee over there, and Tiny Tank Trump fucking going around flabbing his fat ass body. And no, I'm not fat shaming. He is a fat ass lard. Like, that is him. He is the blob. He is like Pizza the Hut, and he should go eat himself to death and fucking leave us alone.
Well, the reason he did that is just like a lot of things that he does, there's no record of what they said, just like in Helsinki. There's no
Interesting.
record. That's why he was in the Beast, because and it's just his, Secret Service and a Putin bodyguard, so there's no record, which he's supposed to have as president. He
Right.
didn't turn over a lot of his notes. He took a lot of classified documents illegally, and thanks to a corrupt judge, didn't get freaking thrown in prison for that, which he absolutely should have. But now we, as the American people, don't know what they said.
Right.
We have no idea. And this
Right.
wasn't some classified meeting. This was a meeting between two world leaders. We have those from Joe Biden. We have those from Obama. We have those from other presidents before them, but we don't have a lot from Trump. Why is that? It's the
Right.
same reason he will not release the Epstein files, because it
Why
makes
is
him, he's culpable. He's in there. It exposes his criminality.
Why does
And
the
Fred,
ambassador to Russia from the US continually go into meetings with no interpreter, nothing,
right.
nothing, nothing? He goes in by himself. He gets a KGB authorized interpreter, and that's about it. And what do we get? We get a guy who goes in front of Putin, puts his hand over his heart, and bows to him. So bows to a leader of a foreign fucking country, an adversary, not even just a leader, our greatest adversary of all time
Right. And I
in
think
US
the
history.
the important, one of the important things here is, Frederick, as you noted, he didn't have a record out of Helsinki. We don't have a record out of the Anchorage meeting. These are things that no other president could ever get away with. It's
No,
literally
No,
never been done before in modern American history that a
nope.
president would meet with our biggest adversary, as Nick just said, and not have an interpreter and not have a readout of what actually occurred in the meeting. They could have literally said anything in those meetings. And I think a lot of us strongly suspect and are probably right that the things that got said in that meeting aren't recorded and aren't shared with us because they involve levels of corruption and levels of selling out the American people and American safety in ways that would absolutely boggle our minds. And the fact that the media is mostly silent about these things shows that they are either incompetent in their jobs, completely dedicated to money above all other things, or actually in on the corruption in some kind of way. And we
Yes.
need to have these things articulated and honestly yelled about at least for the next 24 hours, because we got owned. We got absolutely shamed and owned on American soil yesterday. We should all be embarrassed. We should
we
be
got punked.
mortified.
We
We
got
got
punks.
punked.
Yeah.
The dude,
And the and the,
our
the
president clapped for a fucking adversary of the United States. Our president did.
Yep.
Do
a
you want to know
murderer.
why all of this happened? all of this, why did all of this happen, Fred? Can I ask you this? Why do you think all of this happened? Do you think
So
it has something to do with a pedophilia ring, or do you think it's actually about Ukraine?
well, okay, so I have a master's in history. So let me see if I can unpack this. It's the Epstein files.
Ooh,
It's a distraction.
it's a
That's it.
fucking distraction.
That's it.
And it's Trump getting marching orders from his boss
Yep.
because there was no one in those meetings. His boss told him what to do. His boss gave him new orders. That is okay. I
Trump
don't
says,
always
"Oh
talk.
man,
I
that's
don't
what
always
MAGA will
talk
tell
about what
you."
I did.
MAGA.
So hold on. I don't always talk about what I did in the military. I was in intelligence. I did human intelligence. I learned how to interrogate people and make sources.
Mhm.
Vladimir Putin is a KGB operative
Right.
whose primary skill set is blackmail.
Yep.
Yes.
How do you think he has controlled Donald Trump and so many others which is Ghislaine Maxwell's father, who, oh, by the way, is a key ally in all of this, who just happened to be a blackmail artist themselves and made a whole bunch of fucking money that, oh, somebody by the name of Jeffrey Epstein got a hold of through his daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine, sorry, Ghislaine Maxwell. I guess we
Ghislaine.
should be Ghislaine, sorry, Ghislaine,
It's like ghee, like clarified butter,
Guy,
and Lynn, like Lynn. Ghee Lynn.
Guilin.
Yeah.
I don't
Interesting.
care if you. I don't care
I
if you
even took
mispronounce her name.
French
I
and
don't
that
care.
doesn't sound right to
I
But you
don't
me.
know what?
care.
She's a
She's
fucking
a
pedophile.
pedophile.
So
She's
who
a
cares
She's a
about
pedophile.
sex
We
her?
don't
trafficker.
give a
I don't
shit
care.
about no pedophiles. I ain't here to care about them. I don't give a shit about the pedophiles. What I do care about is I care about what's underneath all of it because it's not just pedophilia that's going on. If it was just pedophilia, that would be disgusting enough. But it's not. It's not even just trafficking that's underneath, which is really what a lot of people are mad about, is the trafficking. What I want and what people like Ellie Leonard are digging into, what Frederic Poag wants, what Lawrence Winnerman wants, is the truth, is
Yep.
what is underneath all of that. Because there is a layer of lies and corruption that have taken over the American political system to destroy us from within, which the USSR told us they would do as they were falling. They would never have to fire a bullet. They would destroy us from within by planting a leader who is beholden to Putin to destroy our country. Because Jack Hopkins asked this question really well. Is if you were someone trying to destroy America from within, wouldn't it look a lot like what Donald Trump is doing?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Exactly like that.
Release the
so
Epstein files, asshole, because that's what takes you down.
so the thing is, we often, to Shane's point, he's like, well, I think it's this. It's like the problem we get into is we think it's only one motivation. It's either
It's all
this
of
or
them.
it's this or it's this. No, it's all of them. Yeah, he loves Putin. He wants to be like Putin. He's a sycophant for Putin, and he's probably also being blackmailed by Putin at the
Right.
same time.
Right.
And
Hmm.
it's also a distraction from the Epstein files because Rick Wilson's talked about this. This is Donald Trump's MO. This has always been his MO, which is
Yep.
he creates a spectacle of bullshit or he fucks up. And then to distract from that, he creates another spectacle. And then while we're chasing down the rabbit hole, we forget about this other one. What's different this time is the American people are not forgetting about the Epstein files. 80% on the last poll want the Epstein files released. 80% of Americans don't agree on anything these days. Nothing.
No, 80% of Americans wouldn't even agree on who should win the Super Bowl, on what movie is top, what film artist, what musician. 80% of Americans don't even agree that toast is good.
And why do you have a meeting in Alaska? Because
Is there
honestly,
butter on toast?
it's the
I mean,
only
isn't that the
place.
implication of toast? It has to be buttered.
Right.
No, you can put peanut butter. So
That's
you know.
butter. You said a key word in there. That's butter of a peanut.
No,
Ooh.
no.
Is there jam with the
Yeah,
butter?
yeah, of course you have peanut butter PB and
Mm.
J. You know,
Anyway, see, this is the
but
problem, is we're gonna
but
be on
no,
here for
We're
24
gonna,
fucking hours, and
yeah,
you guys get to deal
we
with
gotta
the
laugh
inner
for
brains
24 hours.
we do.
of these psychos who are here
Yeah,
demanding civics.
but that's the thing, man. Is like why did he if he wanted to meet Putin, He could have met anywhere in the world, and Putin would have done it.
Yeah,
Why was it Alaska? One, Putin wanted it. That's exactly where Putin wanted to have it. He wanted to have a meeting with Trump on U.S. soil and show this is my boy,
Wait,
right?
according to Trump, I thought Alaska was Russian.
Well,
He
he's
well,
an
called it
idiot.
part of
He's
Russia.
demented. You know,
I,
And
he's
here's
demented. You
yeah,
know,
go
here's the
ahead,
thing.
Lawrence.
You guys have talked about this before. Other folks on Substack have talked about this. Putin, in his heart of hearts, Putin wants to recreate the Russian Empire, not just the Soviet Union,
That
but the old, magnificent Russian Empire, of which Alaska was a
is
part.
part of.
So
of
don't
course.
you think that part of the talk track out in Russia right now is like Putin meets on Russian ancestral land?
Yep,
I'm
of
That's
sure
course.
that's what
exactly
they're
what they
saying.
probably
Of
put is
course.
Russian ancestral, historical Russian land being met on first time by two world leaders
Yep.
who are allied together in some way. Because, and I asked Bobby Jones, a veteran, Navy commander, retired Navy commander Bobby Jones, I
Yep.
asked him directly, if Alaska were to be attacked, do we trust that Hegseth and the president would faithfully execute their orders to defend it? And he said no, but the American people would demand it, which
Absolutely,
is
we would.
right now, we need to consider that the demand is there. Like, you have to, we keep saying the worst, everybody keeps saying, oh, the worst case scenario, that's never going to happen. Well, it fucking happens every time.
Every time.
Stop telling us that we're catastrophizing and start listening. Because if the worst case scenario can happen with these assholes, it will. They want
Well,
it because that's what's most sensational. That's what
I,
makes the news.
I'm one of these assholes
Sorry,
that's
I'm
like,
so excited. I'm so fucking amped up. By the end of
we
the
got
day, I'm gonna be
24
like,
hours to
ah,
go, brother. So, you know, it's
no,
marathon. It's not a sprint. But I love the energy. I love it. This is great. We're all
yeah,
hyped up and excited. I Here's my thing, and I'm this asshole. Um, I I don't believe you're going to defend U.S. soil because you can't even release files that you're not criminally implicated in, right?
Right.
yeah, I thought so. But then
I
again, they
mean,
did have all of those folks who just decided to, what was it, 1,000 FBI agents or more scrub a document set
why
that
would you? Why
apparently
would you?
doesn't have his name in them.
Right.
Why would you need to do that? Like,
Why would you need
Yeah.
10,000 people to eliminate every reference?
I
Right.
mean, you didn't
Like,
do anything wrong, right? Like,
Yeah,
why
if you
would?
didn't do anything wrong, why are you eliminating even like the truth will set you free, right? Isn't that
I,
the
I,
motto that they taught us all growing up? Like the truth will set you free. Well,
Can't
let
he
out the truth.
easily explain his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein
right.
based on
I
those
mean,
files?
it's not like so much of this is already public that he could easily come out and go, I did know Jeffrey. He was a buddy of mine, but I didn't know what he was doing. Had he not been a lying piece of shit and maybe said shit like that, people might have believed him. But guess what, you lying piece of shit, you orange turd? Nobody fucking believes you.
Wait, Trump
Release the
lies?
damn Epstein files. Pam Bondi, I hope you go to prison too because you have done some unethical and
They all need to go to prison.
unlawful things,
All of them.
anti-lawful things, anti-constitutional. And so we're going to start working on words while we're here too, and we're going to use the word anti-constitutional or
Anti-constitutional.
anti-lawful or anti-civic, like anti-American, because that's what these people are. They are anti. They are against everything that America stands for. So
Yeah.
why are we here? Because we're demanding the release of the Epstein files, and that release is step one in our civic duty.
Yep.
Like
And
this is
100%.
civic duty right now. You guys showing up and being part of this, hitting the like, hitting the heart button, sharing, sending this on Facebook, text messages, emails, whatever you want to do, like joining. I see all the joins that you guys are doing. We appreciate every single one of you who's coming in, who's becoming a paid subscriber with us too. This is incredible. Like you guys, you are the network. We can't do this without any of you, and we cannot demand the release of the Epstein files without y'all. And when y'all
Yes.
do it, when y'all demand with us, the louder we get, the larger we get. That's how we win. That's when the files get released. And guess what? Sessions coming back in. They can't be on vacation forever
right.
because if they keep doing that, guess what? They've abdicated their role as Congress members and legislators, and we get to vote new ones in. So Keep it up, assholes, because we'll start some citizens petitions and we'll vote all your asses out because we have the power in the Constitution to do that.
You know what I
More.
love about your word anti-constitutional, Nick,
Yeah.
is it is an excellent frame for what they are doing and the
Yep.
extremes that they are willing to go to. I just put in the chat, if anyone knows Anat Shenker Osorio, she's here on Substack. I see her on lives all the time. She's an amazing strategist and tactical strategist for words and framing. I think she would love the frame of anti-constitutional because it does exactly describe what they're doing. It's beyond it's beyond, we hate you because you're the other team. It is now attacking the heart of American democracy, which is the Constitution. And
Yes.
we need to frame everything in those terms so that people understand the magnitude of what is happening here. They are
Right.
trying to end American democracy. Franklin said, "A republic, if we could keep it." We're on the verge of not keeping it.
And we get the
229
democracy
years.
we work for.
Right,
And
right,
this isn't to scare you guys, man. It's to let you know
No,
the
it's
stakes. It's to
fire
frame
you
it.
up.
Yeah, it's to fire you up, and it's because here, there's a reason I said, in my little sermon at the top of the hour is like they want you to be hopeless. They want you to feel helpless. They want you to be bamboozled with bullshit, right? They want you to think there's nothing you can do to stop this fascistic authoritarian movement. Every single one of those movements are from a minority. It's the illusion of this power that they have, that it's
right.
inevitable. And no matter what they do, they're going to stop you. That's not true. That's not true. Most people do not want to live under a fascistic regime. They do not want to live under
No,
authoritarianism. And all you have to do is speak out. That's why we keep pushing on the Epstein files, because that is Trump's weakness right there. And it's something very simple, because if it wasn't his weakness, release him.
Can I
Just
just
release
say
him.
exactly.
something? Can I say something? We have been live for 35 minutes. We have got 9 paid subscribers already and 69 subscribers overall. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you to
much.
everybody
Yeah,
for
y'all are
believing
freaking
in this mission
awesome.
and standing with us. Thank
And I
you.
have an announcement that just came in exactly a little less than an hour, about 55 minutes. I've got the
Ooh.
amazing Larissa Reinhart is going to be on the show.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Women
Love it.
Politics Podcast, one of the smartest women on Substack. Great guest. We're going to talk about women's issues. We're going to talk about a lot of good stuff. And we have Ellie Leonard coming today. So we got a lot of good guests. We
We
got
got an
like a whole,
incredible lineup today. So, how about we
yeah.
touch on the lineup a little bit today of what's
Let's
going
do
on?
it.
I've
Yeah.
got it pulled up. So, I've got, in terms of some of the guests that we've got coming on, like Fred was saying, we've got Larissa Reinhart, we've got um, coming on let me get the times right, 6 p.m. Eastern is Ellie Leonard. She's going to be on with us for 3 hours. She may drop off during that time, come back on as well, but she's got a 3 hour block that we're going to help. We're just going to guide a discussion with her. And you guys ask questions. Everyone in the chat, if you're still with us or when you're still with us at the time, ask questions. We love it. She loves it because it helps build this discussion and it shows your engagement. So we've got Ellie from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Coming right on after her and with her for a little bit of time is we're going to pull in Tim Fullerton of the Find Out podcast. He's coming on at 9 p.m. Eastern for an hour with us, if not longer if he wants to. He's just going to hang out. And we're going to get
Yep.
to talk with him. He's an organizer. He's an advocate. He does like I said, Find Out podcast. He was part of White Dudes for Harris, which brought us and opened the space for white dudes like us to be able to come in strong and push messages that don't fucking suck. Then, right after Tim Fullerton, we've got friend of the shows and veteran Melissa Corrigan coming on at 10 p.m. Eastern. She's going to be on probably throughout the day, off and on. She'll be in and out of the chat, I bet. We see her a lot. She's a huge advocate. And like I said, we're going to talk about some of the ideas of where we go and how we can most make this platform the most impactful that we can in the least amount of time. And that's really what it is. We don't have a lot of time, so we have to make as much impact as we can fast. And then
Yeah,
later in the evening, 1 a.m. Eastern time, we've actually got Shane Urich coming on. He's going to talk with us about some big tech and censorship. He's in the chat with us right now. And I may ask you to boot me for a couple minutes, Fred, and see if Shane wants to come in, introduce himself, and say hi so that people get to know
can.
who he is. He and I have talked about anti-constitutionalism a couple times. And I think now is a perfect time for him to be able to talk about it.
If Shane wants to come in, I'll boot you, and then
Heck yeah.
I'll pull him in. If he wants to
Heck
do
yeah.
twice, I mean, I'm not going to say no to him, because
No, Shane.
that's what we're
Yeah,
here
boot
for.
me, Fred. Boot me,
All
Fred.
right. Yeah, he's like, oh, he's got a
Oh, he's
break
got
in
15
15.
in
There we
15.
go.
So right at
So
just about top of the
15.
hour, we're gonna get Shane. And Shane is of uh the Firebrand project. I'm gonna drop links in throughout the day. I'll drop his in here shortly. Shane is awesome. If you don't follow him already or subscribe to him, you should. He does a lot of philosophy, and that's one of the things that we need now. Also, if you notice, we all got a little bit of grays somewhere. Shane doesn't. Shane, I'm 35. I'm the youngest of the group here. Shane is 10 years younger than me. Shane is
Oof.
25, and he's a young man who is doing it right. He's a young
That's
man
amazing though.
who's coming
25
in
years old.
strong.
Yeah, 25 years old, and like I wasn't politically active. I
Nope.
think when did I get politically active? I was 20. I was 20. I was 26. What got me was funny enough, not 9/11. It was the Iraq War is what got me.
Me too.
Yeah, it was that. It was the Iraq War.
It was
Um,
2003, 2004,
that was it. Yeah,
and the guy who activated me was Howard Dean, because in that moment in time, he was the only person standing up and vocally questioning the Bush administration's rush to war in Iraq. And there were a lot of us who questioned that movement. Uh,
Hmm.
Turns out we were kind of right, that they were feeding us some bullshit and leading us down a primrose path
I
to
feel like
get
there's
into
a
that war.
weird coincidence with Republicans and lying,
yeah.
especially about
Isn't it
big
interesting?
things. It's
But
interesting. It's
it's.
interesting because wasn't Richard Nixon a Republican?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
And
All
didn't
like
he have one of the biggest scandals of corruption and lying in American history up until this point?
Up until now, yeah. Isn't it
Because what
interesting that,
Richard Nixon did is literally a day, is like an afternoon's worth of effort for Donald Trump.
yeah.
Like, I
Hey,
hope we all understand that.
I'm all like, hey, you know what? Nixon 2028, in retrospect, not so bad.
Yeah,
Not the worst. I
yeah.
take
Like,
it.
I'll vote for Nixon's head in a jar. It ain't that bad.
Nixon's head in a jar, man. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we got that's good. So like, and so this is part of all of it is we're bringing in friends where we got to talk about how corrupt this whole bullshit is and frame it in reference that people understand. Like Nixon was corrupt as fuck, and the Republican Party forced him to step down as president so that he didn't truly get impeached all the way. Like so that he didn't get
That's the difference
removed.
between then and now is
Then and
because
now is
you had
is
actual Republican senators that cared about the rule of law and
yep.
told finally when it was overwhelming they said, "No, you got to step down."
Yeah,
You
and
know.
the big difference and what came out of that is what we're seeing now is the Heritage Foundation. What came out of Richard Nixon was the Heritage Foundation that said, we will never allow this to happen to a Republican president again. And we're going to do everything in our power to get a Republican president in office and let them be as corrupt as fuck and do nothing about it. And guess what?
You guys want to
We're
hear something
here.
crazy? You want to hear something nuts? Guess.
Always.
Yeah,
So we have
always.
Shane coming on. Guess who also we have coming on in 20 minutes? My good friend Bob Seska.
Nice.
Oh shit. This
Excellent.
is
Yeah, I
gonna be
got Bob
big.
Seska coming on. So I'm gonna have to boot you both. I'm gonna have to boot Lawrence and
And
Nick.
Nick.
They're gonna have to go kick their feet up and go do
Oh
something. They're gonna
shit.
have to join the chat. You're gonna have to
Oh,
rest up for your own blocks.
I'm gonna be
You
here
know,
on the chat, and I'm gonna be making that T-shirt that the folks wanted me to make earlier in the chat. Hell yeah, do
and
it! I'm gonna be here the whole time.
heck
I
yeah,
have to
man.
say thank you all to who everyone subscribing. Actually, boot me now. For now, my wife's giving me a call, so I'm gonna drop anyway.
Dig it.
And I'll see you guys in a bit.
Later on, man. Let's do it.
Excellent. All right. Yeah, Fred, can we go back to the Alaska meeting for a minute?
Yes, of course.
What do you think about the fact that now Zelensky is being summoned to the White House on Monday? So this mystery meeting happened in Alaska where nothing reportable came out of it. And now Zelensky has to show up at the White House. What do you think Trump is going to tell Zelensky on Monday? What is your what let's take bet. What is your worst case scenario for what's going to come out of Monday?
So, my worst case scenario is all for Ukraine, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think Trump drops the hammer on him and says, hey, you don't have the, like, to Shane's point, you don't have the cards, you don't have this, you don't have that, and we're not going to support you anymore, and blah blah blah, and he spouts some Kremlin talking points like he normally does, and then at that point, it's up to NATO, like Europe, basically the EU, Canada, and other allies to carry that burden. Um, that's the worst case scenario for me, because I mean Trump really can't. I Because part of me goes, well, they tried to bully him and that was a disaster, so they won't do that again. But then I go, Fred, you're thinking like a rational human being
right.
and an expert in foreign policy. And if they were that, they wouldn't do that in the first place.
Yep.
So I could absolutely see Trump doing that again, because and that's the crazy thing, is you try to get in Trump's headspace. You're like, you were embarrassed by this meeting in Alaska that showed you were weak, and like I don't understand how you didn't know that would show you would be weak, but regardless, so
Right.
now you've got to, well, I'm going to bully Zelensky because being a bully will show I'm strong. No, it'll just show the same thing again. So I said, I'm 50-50. I think he's either going to be a dumbass and bully Zelensky, or he is going to do this waffling and just play this BS game, which Putin also wants, right? Because
Right.
what
It's
Putin
time. It's
wants
buying him
is
time.
buy him time, keep the EU from going, well, the United States isn't quite out yet, and well, maybe they're not going to go, and it's like, EU, Canada, we're not going to help. The U.S. is not going to help Ukraine the way
Yeah.
they need to be helped.
Yeah.
It's not going to
I'm
happen.
seriously concerned that Trump is going to push the you've got to cede 20% of your territory to Russia, and and we know Zelensky's going to basically be like, fuck you, bro, like,
As
nicely.
they should.
Yeah,
As
as
they
he should.
should.
Absolutely, as he should. Like, there's no judgment there. That's exactly what Zelensky should do. But I'm pretty convinced that Putin has put the screws to Trump to basically say, like, we need that territory. You're going to get me that territory. And the one thing we know about Trump is he runs everything like a mob boss, except that Putin is the mob boss's boss.
Yeah. Like, the Putin's the head of the commission for the gangster mafia worldwide. Trump wants to be him, but he can't.
Right.
He likes to pretend he's a gangster, and he's not.
Yeah.
He's just a weak, pathetic man who's had everything handed to him his entire life. And Zelensky's an actual wartime leader. And the thing about the Ukrainian people is they're it doesn't matter what we say, they will fight with sticks and rocks if need be.
As they
And
should.
that's the tragedy of it, right? Is whatever happens in that Oval Office, people are going to die because Trump is a piece of shit POTUS.
Yeah.
That's what's going to
Yep.
happen.
Piece of shit. POTUS. Fuck the POTUS. Fuck the piece of shit.
Yeah, he is, and that's the problem with Trump, is we're going to, like, you know I'm sure he's gotten his talking points. I'm sure he's going to try to sell everybody here in America on, you know, oh, well, you guys started this war. Oh, well, you're just as bad. You're just as, and he'll try to do that where it's like, both sides are wrong. Both sides are wrong. So, Ukraine, you have to understand that Russia, they have just as much grievance as you do. No, dude, I'll say it now. Russia invaded Ukraine. They are the aggressors. This is a
Yep.
war of aggression perpetrated by Vladimir Putin
Yep.
for the acquisition of territory. It is a war crime. He needs to be put before the Hague.
Yep.
That's what this is. There wasn't a pretext like we had in Iraq War. It's like, well, there's weapons of mass destruction. No. It wasn't even that. It
Yeah.
was just it was like, no, it's ours, because that's how Russia looks at Ukraine. They don't consider it a real country. Just like, you mentioned, Lawrence, where you said they want to resurrect the Russian Empire.
Yeah.
They view Alaska as theirs. It is even more so with Ukraine. If you study anything about Russification, they call Ukraine Little Russia. At one point, the Empire of Russia wiped out the Ukrainian language, wiped it out. You
Yep.
could not, it was not taught. Russian was taught. Like Russian history was taught. Ukrainian history was not. The poets in the 19th century from Ukraine had to basically reconstitute the Ukrainian language.
And to that point, right? You and I are of a particular age. We remember growing up, Ukraine was the Ukraine, which I did not know until this conflict was basically a piece of that Russification, right? Where
Mhm.
Russia was trying to diminish the
Yes.
importance of Ukraine as a nation by referring to it as a geographic territory. The
Yes.
Ukraine didn't make it a country, it turned it into basically just, oh, that place where we grow a lot of sunflowers and wheat, you know?
It's like the Rocky Mountains.
Right,
That's
right.
not a state. It's a geographic area. And if you think about it, it's a subtle kind of piece of propaganda. To your point,
Oh,
Lawrence,
for sure. Total
you know,
propaganda.
the Great Lakes, the Rocky Mountains,
In
the
Washington
Pacific Ocean.
State, in Washington State, there's a place called the Palouse, right?
Mhm.
It spans kind of Washington and Idaho. Beautiful farmland, beautiful rolling hills, golden wheat, like beautiful. The Palouse. And Ukraine was called the Ukraine for exactly the same purpose, to make it just a geographical place that was not its own territorial, like, piece of, territorial integrity. Like, it's insane what they have
If
done.
if you look at history, there was a time called the Holodomor. It was a great starvation. It was Soviet collectivization in Ukraine in the late 20s or in the early 30s, where they basically took farmland from private ownership and they collectivized it, right? And which basically meant they had the Soviets run it. You didn't own any land, and it was such a disaster. They don't know how many millions of Ukrainians died from
Yeah.
starvation. They don't know. Even to this day, historians are guessing because there's really no records of it. They've had to reconstitute it from different sources here and here. That is the end result when you try to wipe out a culture.
Yep.
That's where that leads. And Russia has never gotten over that. The only reason Ukraine has Crimea is Nikita Khrushchev gave it to them like as a gift, where he was trying to change that mentality of treating Ukraine that way. And so he gifted the Crimea to Ukraine. But they were all part of the Soviet Empire at that point, so it was like.
Right. So it didn't
But
matter.
that's why there's that sticking point with Crimea right now.
Right.
But the Ukrainians, you want to talk about a people who've been oppressed by Russia for centuries. It's the Ukrainians. You know, I'm gonna bring in Shane for a little bit, and
Pull 'em in.
let's. He's on his break. I want to see if I can grab him. I'm gonna grab you, Shane. You know,
We
let me
call
see if
this
I.
over on Gen X. We call this pulling a Wendy, pulling somebody on the screen.
Why do they have to make this so difficult? It's like I want to get the guy who I'm talking to.
Yo, earlier we were trying to explain to Fred how to do this, and he was like, I'm the talent. I don't need to know how all
How's it
this
That's
going,
works.
it. I'm
fellas?
talent. I don't need to know this.
I'm the
There he
talent.
is.
I don't got to know how it works.
Hello.
What is
What's
It is
up,
a
up,
man?
pleasure
Shane?
to meet you both.
Yes.
I have heard lots of good things. I have seen you and Nick tearing it up more than once. And I have to agree, it's good. It's fun tearing stuff up with Nick. So I'm looking forward to tearing it up with you guys a little bit more here in the future. But
Yeah,
to
man.
everybody here, My name is Shane. I am the founder of the Firebrand project. We are a group of 2,000 plus strong now who we care about the truth. We care about looking at things the right way. We ask questions and we don't just look at the headline. It's about looking from what comes behind it. And a firebrand is someone who resists the system. It's who looks at the system and you carry the torch forward. You keep carrying on the conversation. So I'm happy to be among firebrands today. And
I love it. Shane. Like, so Nick says you're 25. You seem very switched on. You know, like I love to see that. What kind of got you passionate about like how did you get activated in politics? Like, you know, what was that
I
moment for you?
I have ever since I was like 16, I've got a strong sense of justice. Like it just there's right and there's wrong, you know, like it's just not that complicated. It never has been. And when I was in middle school, I
Mm.
read The Allegory of the Cave for the first time.
Wow.
And
Okay.
Nice.
it changed my life. And I think about it all the time. And I kept thinking, where are the shadows? And the more I asked questions, the more I just saw shadows on the wall. And
Yeah.
I was just boggled by my parents, by my teachers, by everyone else who couldn't seem to see what I was seeing, which is very obviously what are people, right? And that's another big part of the Firebrand project is we understand what it is to be a person, to be a human,
Yes.
because understanding what people are explains everything we're living through. We've been told that we are like supposedly these just moral beings who, you know, always do the right thing, and we've got this excellent justice system that, you know, always does the right thing, and it doesn't. It's all bullshit. It's who has the most money. And it's like capitalism is the best thing ever. It creates opportunity. No, it doesn't. It's it's all it's the shadows we're talking about on the wall, and it
Yeah.
just that natural progress that you know led me down the road as I continued and as things really deteriorated following you know the election
Yeah.
and all of that. I felt really hopeless. I felt like I just didn't know what to do. But I do have a passion for speaking and connecting with people,
I
and
love it.
that's why I'm here. That's why the Firebrand project exists. Because you know what I told my fiance when I started: if I can get 5 people to talk to
Mm.
one person, and that one person talks to another one person, even if I only have 100 subscribers, it's the butterfly effect.
Yes.
And the
For
way
real.
we win this war, because it is a war,
For
the
Yep.
way
sure.
we win this war is through hearts and minds. It will
Hmm.
always be through hearts and minds, because if you don't challenge how people think, because we are an apathetic population, we would rather work a 9 to 4 a.m. every day. A lot of people, I'm not going to say everybody, would rather work a 9 to 4 and barely get by than look up and face the fact that that might not even be enough here pretty soon.
Right.
And
God damn, bro, you are so fucking on point for 25. And I, here's the thing that I figured out that I think you're already way ahead of me. The thing that is happening right now in America is there's 340 million of us.
Yep.
And every single person, it seems like, would rather wait for their neighbor to call the police, you know, would rather wait for somebody else to recognize that there's a crisis because they don't want to be bothered. Because there's a new season of Wednesday that got added on Netflix, or, you know, I'm struggling to keep the roof over my head. I don't got time for this.
yeah,
And so everyone hears the siren wailing that we are on the cliff, and everyone is waiting for someone else to do it. And
yeah,
I think,
and maybe
yeah,
that's
go.
what the Firebrand Project is, right? Let's frickin' wail. Let's
Yeah.
scream. Let's just be loud. And you know, at the end of the day, I love your example. Everyone's waiting for someone else to call the police. I'm going to give you an example, a real world example that just highlights that. About a week and a half ago, I'm driving home from work. And I look out the window, I'm at the light, I look to my left, and there's a woman. She's passed out, completely like unresponsive on the sidewalk.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And I
god.
sit there and I watch someone walk by her. I see people turn past her into the gas station. And I said, you know what? I'm going to call an ambulance, because honestly, how many people have driven past her in the last 5 minutes? She could be
Right.
dead.
She could be dead.
She could be dead. And that's literally America. We claim to be this country that's great, but there's homeless people die on the street every fucking day, and we just keep saying we're like the wealthiest nation on earth. This country is actually, let's be honest with ourselves, we're not a developed country. We are an apathetic population that chooses to endorse this idea that we're progressive when we're just not. This is like a hybrid feudal society, and we have lords that give us a little bit of leash because they know we'll never get enough money to really challenge them. And you know, I'll like my dad, he was a white guy and he made his way up the chain because he was a white guy in the corporate ladder. And
Yep.
I've never been financially stressed, but I've never been able to feel okay that everyone else is. Right?
Right.
Like that's the difference for me, is I can't be apathetic. I can't just be like, wow, like I go to my friend's house and like his parents like can't afford rent. They might have to move. Why? Like, don't they have full-time jobs? What's going on? You
Right.
know, and to you know, the whole point of this apathy, it's like, you know, that we're on the cliff, the siren is wailing, and guess what? Like, if we don't decide that the siren is not enough.
Mhm.
You know, I love. I'm gonna nerd out. Lord of the Rings, right? And he sends Pippin up the tower to light the tower, the brazier, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's crawling up there, and he lights it. And then the guys on the you know, on the other mountain. Imagine those guys were just like, fuck it, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't at their job.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right,
Right. Or
they weren't
right.
somebody
even
lit
at
it.
it.
Somebody lit the
That's kind of
tower
where
up.
America's at, right? Like they
Yeah.
lit the beacon, and then they're like, nah, I don't. The torch is over there, so
Right.
maybe the guys at the next one will see it.
Right.
I'm sure it'll be
Oh
fine.
fuck. I don't want to do not on my
Oh,
shift. I don't want to do this on my shift.
Right.
that's right. And you know what would happen? All of a sudden, Rohan's not there anymore. Rohan gets cooked, and or you know, Rohan doesn't show up, and the White City, that's it for mankind. So you know, our white tree, and then I'm gonna do another. So I work in a mechanic shop. I gotta put some shit on the TV while I'm working. I just was watching Transformers. And then Megatron goes, humans don't deserve a chance to live. And Optimus Prime, he says, they deserve to choose for themselves. He didn't say, oh, they deserve to live. They deserve to choose. How about we choose to live? Like,
Yeah.
how about that? You know, like all
Bro.
of our media, if you look back, like all these movies, like where is the spirit we used to portray in our
Mhm.
media in our actual culture? It's
Man,
not
Yeah.
there.
Fred and I grew up with the original Red Dawn, right? Back in 1984, 1985, which was about the US getting invaded and how we would all rise up and grab our weapons and defend,
We would.
this country tooth and nail. Where are the people who are rooting for Russia in this country right now? Where the fuck were they? Like, have you not watched all of our movies? You guys get
Right.
that the Empire is the bad side in Star Wars, right?
I've got my buddy Bob Seska in the chat. I'm gonna bring him in.
I'm
Shane,
gonna
hang
drop.
out.
I'm gonna
Okay.
Lawrence,
drop.
I will see you later, sir.
Good
It
to
was
meet you,
nice to meet you,
Shane.
Lawrence.
You
You know,
too.
dude, I love your energy, man. I love
I,
it.
you know, that's you know, I always end every post with burn bright, right? You know, light it up like a torch. Don't be afraid to you know, speak out and
I've got to bring in Bob because, like,
yeah.
my friend Bob Seska, Bob.
What's going on,
Shane
Bob?
just made a Lord of the Rings reference in, you know, in
Outstanding.
America's Apathy, where he said, "Well, what if the beacon gets lit, and the next tower over just says, somebody else to do it. Somebody else to be quiet.
That's right. Yeah,
He's like,
I love Peter Jackson's observation that there are generations and generations of people who live right next to the beacon, and they're just waiting for that day when
yes,
Yeah,
someone has to signal someone
yeah,
else using that beacon. And
yeah,
that's got to be the greatest day of their life, because it's like, well,
yeah.
like boredom, 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 boredom. Oh my God, I'm doing everything.
yeah.
Boredom, 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 boredom. Yeah.
And they probably lit that thing and they're like, what is the point of my life? Why am I here? Like, I just lit
Right,
that
right.
beacon. Wait,
Hmm.
now what? No, what?
I
Do I leave? Do I stay? What do I do now?
I appreciate you both showing up. It's awesome. Like, we are launching Banner and Backbone for those of you just joining us. So Banner and Backbone is all about civic engagement. It's kind of a re-putting out civics and civics in America, because that's what we desperately need, is people to be engaged.
Yeah.
And this one, our 24-hour live-a-thon, is on releasing the Epstein files, because, well, it needs to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
so, Shane, he is with Project Firebrand. Did I get that right?
Firebrand Project.
Firebrand Project. So he's 25 years old and he's active. And then I got my friend Bob Seska, who is with the Bob Seska Show. One of the old hands. Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is. The Bob Seska Show. And if you like politics, if you like great takes and a little bit of comedy, the Bob Seska Show, that's the place. So I'm glad you guys are both here.
Underscore the words "little bit" of comedy. We try. We try. We do
It's
our
so
best.
You
hard
gotta you gotta
nowadays.
slip it in where you can find it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
that's
God,
that's
especially
why I
today.
love notes, because I'll think of some cheeky shit and I'll be like, yeah, here you go. The
Yeah.
other day I was like, Stephen Miller's a POS. Someone needs to flush him. Yeah, it's just that made me feel a little better. That got me through the day. Right? 5-letter word
Nice.
for idiot. Trump. Oh God, that feels great. Like,
Right.
you gotta get it where you can, because it is also just fucking terrible. And I'm geopolitics, right, too. Like, that's one of my deep passions as well, is geopolitics. And I only have a couple more minutes, but I wanted to kind of share this with your viewership as well, because as you talk about the Epstein files, I think this will kind of be pertinent as well, in the larger picture, because I'm a big picture guy. To understand America, we need to understand the global picture and what the actual global trend is, which is the world is trending towards authoritarianism, not just America. The entire world is trending towards authoritarianism. Africa is pretty much almost completely devolved into authoritarian military coups. It's been like over the last 10 years, like Africa's there. You have a lot of these leaders in Europe who are very questionable. They are championing democracy, but they are getting very questionable. They are not popular. The war in Ukraine creates a vacuum for authoritarians, because
Yep.
the strong man thrives in wartime, right? So it's very easy to justify maybe maintaining power, if you have an ongoing conflict and nationalism. But what I think is interesting is I want to point out two figures. One just visited the United States. He is arguably the most successful authoritarian of the modern era.
Ugh.
But Vladimir Putin has had a 80 to 90% approval rate in Russia almost his entirety of being there. And that's not because he's just pushing people out of windows. It's because he's cultivated an image, a very particular image that the Russian people buy. He has created a propaganda network that reinforces his power. His rise to power was through the Chechen wars. He
Yeah.
used the wars in Chechnya and the terror threat to take over the Russian government and slowly edge out democracy during these conflicts.
Mhm.
So it was essential that he use this conflict. Let's look at Bukele, the modern example of a dictator. He has a almost 80% approval rating. He is exceptionally popular. The murder capital of the world turned into one of the safest places overnight. He's popular and he has cultivated an image. He's a young guy who understands how to leverage social media and has created an environment where he's in control. He just pulled off like the best coup ever. He gets to be president forever. He changed the Constitution overnight and the people were clapping. So this is, but this is where I want to point out Trump will never be an authoritarian. He is the least popular president in the history of the United States. The most important part of being an authoritarian and maintaining power is ensuring you have major popularity. So take heart knowing that the algorithm for an authoritarian requires you lock down popularity. And his angle was immigration. And he failed dramatically. The enemy within was the immigrant. He's failed. ICE didn't save him. Now 80%, like you said earlier, Frederic, 80% of Americans want to see the Epstein files.
They do.
And that's where we're at. So I guess what I will say, as because I got to go back into work here, but I appreciate you letting me on here for a minute,
Of course.
is that he is not going to be successful. He will hurt this country. He will damage it. But the most damage is going to be done by the people who are leveraging his position to dismantle our economy, to extract wealth the from the middle class, and that's what's going to hurt us. But I always want to say there has to be a positive in some sense. Take heart in the fact that, and just even say, oh, JD Vance is worse. He's a fucking pig. No one likes him. He's a piece of shit. He's been on vacation for 6 months. No one likes him. He can't be an authoritarian either. So in that sense, we're good. We have the first step. We have the first step, which is they're not going to be popular enough to do it. So I got to go back to my 9 to 5 and suffer just like all the rest of us. But I will see you guys later tonight. And Bob, I'll be down in the chat, guys, hanging out as well. So make sure you all subscribe to Banner and Backbone. It's something I look forward to being a part of in the future. And I think it's a good thing. And I think that we as citizens need to continue to expand our reach and our connections and network, because where the Midas Touch network was the beginning, it can't be the end. And we need more honest, more genuine, down-to-earth people that are just talking about this, not reporting it, because that's what the next step is looking at what we're living through, putting the pieces together as people, and talking about it. So thank you, and I will see you all later. Check out the Firebrand project. We just hit 2,000 subscribers. And burn bright, my friends.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
There's my man, Bob Saska.
I have just listening to Shane talk. A couple of things occurred to me. I mean, he mentioned the word algorithm, and this has been something I've talked about for many, many years now, which is, I think, a lot of the pain we face societally and more specifically politically is because of the internet. Now, I always get into this shut down the internet rant, which is mostly facetious. It's mostly to make a point that I think the centerpiece of what is hurting the world right now, obviously benefiting the world in many ways, but also hurting the world, is the existence of the internet and social media and the dominance it has in our lives from many different perspectives. And I'm going to come back to authoritarianism. This is all leading to an authoritarianism thing. But the first thing, obviously, is I don't think human beings were ready for it. I don't think we were evolved. I think the internet came along much too quickly in our lifespan as a species, to the point where it used to be, and those people who listen to my show have heard this rant before, but it used to be that maybe there was one big stressful thing that would happen to a person throughout the course of their a single year of their life. Maybe if they were agrarian, one of their sheep would wander away and they'd have to go searching for the lost sheep and bring the sheep back into the herd. And that was like the crisis for the year. How do I have enough food and water to get through the winter? That was the crisis for the year. Now, because of the internet and the fact that we have these computers in our pockets at all times with access to literally tens of thousands of problems every day,
Yeah.
Every time we look at our phones, we're absorbing all the problems in the entire world,
Yes.
all at the same time. Are we ready for that? I mean, and the answer is a lot of us aren't. Many of us are. We can certainly put these things into the category in our priority list that they belong, but a
Right.
lot of people just can't digest all of that. So I think that drives them to authoritarianism, because
Yes.
how do I get a handle on all this? Democracy is too slow because that requires compromise and debate and discussion, and maybe turning the ship of state is a little bit too arduous. So, authoritarianism. We need a strong man who's going to say, nope, this ends now, and we're going to do this now. And not realizing all of the downsides that that brings along with it, authoritarianism. And so there's that. There's also the fact that so much of the authoritarian vibe
Mm.
works on the internet. It gets
Yeah, it
us
does.
outraged. It generates more clicks. It makes us want to scroll more and feed the algorithm. And so it's almost like a self-generating machine that is driving human beings, whether we like it or not, toward authoritarian style governments. And so I don't know that the existence of social media is necessarily compatible, as we say this on Substack. I don't know if it's necessarily compatible with democracy. And so that's what I worry about a lot. That
Dude,
this,
yeah.
yeah, that this machine that we've created, the internet with our phones and the social media platforms, and this desire to be seen, this attention economy, where Instagram, TikTok, they want us to just keep
Yep.
scroll through, and get these quick bursts. There's no room for nuance. And so I think that's really why we are where we are, or a big contributing factor to it.
And for those who don't know Bob, like Bob's been, you've been online covering politics since the blogosphere, right? Like you was for
Yeah, I
since George
started.
W. Bush.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started my first blog. Well, I was doing some blogging on a discussion forum on my cartoon website, which was called Camp Chaos at the time.
Okay.
And then right after the 2004 election, that's when I officially started my first politics blog. The following summer, the summer of 2005, that's when I was invited to start contributing to the Huffington Post, which was, oh my God, we just surpassed the 20th anniversary of that. So I've been doing it for a while, and my hairline reflects that.
That's funny. Yeah, dude. I mean, I met, for those of you who don't know, I met Bob when you hosted the show with our dear friend Ches Pazienza, who passed away
Yes.
years and years ago.
Hmm.
And like it was interesting because how I wanted to meet Bob and Ches, and I organized a panel at my alma mater ETSU, and it was the how social media's influence on politics, and this was after the 2012 election. I said, "Boy, politicians started using Twitter. This might be a thing in the future. We should talk about it." Or if
So much
only we
foresight.
knew. If
Yeah.
only we knew, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I had no idea it would get this bad, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, God,
Right. And Donald Trump is perfectly suited for the era of social media driven politics, because so much of what he does suits that 24/7 scroll fever that we all have, where there's always something new. There's always some big development that keeps us going through and scrolling down through, whether it's X or Blue Sky or what have you, Instagram, TikTok. And so he has been able to, whether he knew it or not, whether he knows it or not, he's been really able to piggyback his success onto the dominance of social media, and to an extent YouTube, on our politics.
yeah, 100%. And and that's the frustrating thing about it, because it's like you almost you don't know whether you want to comment on these things because
Hmm.
it's so egregious, like some of the shit he does, but it's also, it's a distraction,
Yeah.
because that's his brand.
Hmm.
Like he wants to just, he just says, okay, like don't look at the Epstein files. Look over here, right? Oh, look at me rolling out the red carpet for Putin. Oh, look
Yeah.
at me doing this. Oh, look at me. Oh, I'm sending National Guard to D.C., which,
Hmm.
it's they have National Guard patrolling the streets of Georgetown, for Christ's
Yeah.
sake. Like, hey, anybody who's been down to Georgetown or Old Town Alexandria, I worked in the D.C. in Northern Virginia for a little while. Come on, man. Like, come on. Even during 9/11, right after, right, when we were like worried about, are terrorists going to attack a dam or attack this or attack that?
Hmm.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
And it's BS because it's oh well, we have I'm going to authorize 800 troops for the city for any protests or this or that and blah blah blah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, the inauguration normally has 7,000. And and for Joe Biden's right after January 6th had authorized up to 25,000. What is 800 going to do? And they always do the horses in a line. You've got the trucks with them all hanging off, and it's this little authoritarian spectacle that they can get a 30-second clip, and to your point, throw it on social media so the rest of us can go, oh dear God, it's the Nazis, they're taking over, da 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 da, and you're bracing for it, and then it's
Hmm.
okay. Or do we still have rights, or what's happening?
Right. Yeah.
Am I going to the camps? Like, what's going on?
The whole thing is such a horrendous idea. And as you know from being in the DC area, I grew up here. I mean, I was born in the district. I grew up in Northern Virginia, right outside the district. And so I'm quite familiar with the city's history and its problems that it's had with crime. Now, on one hand, obviously, they don't need a military presence in Georgetown or Northwest DC where you've got $2 million, probably much more expensive than $2 million now, but you've got very expensive row homes, and it's more of a quiet community. But at the same time, what you don't want is necessarily, if the military is going to be there, you don't want the military exclusively focusing on some of the more problematic areas. You don't want it to seem like they're racially profiling. And so yeah, I guess it's okay that they're spread out across the city in that regard. So it's like, well, we're over here in in the Georgetown area as well as
Right.
being in Southeast. So, but it's all a bad idea. It's all a horrible idea, which
Of
is
course.
and it's all a waste of resources. It's a waste of money. But what Donald is doing is he's checking off boxes. And so that's my kind of optimistic view of this, is that it's not going to last very long because he's not really. Obviously, we need to keep an eye on it, and if it
Sure.
does go on and on, I mean, we need to never give him the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, much like with Los Angeles, he may get bored and move on to something else when it's time for a new episode of the Donald Trump show.
Right.
Things fresh, you know what I mean, to keep people's
Yes.
attention, and that's what primarily drives him. So we'll see where it lands, but none of this is good.
No. None of it. And that's you could pretty much say that about the entire Trump presidency. None of this is good.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
at least George W. Bush did a lot for Africa for AIDS
Hmm.
prevention and HIV. It's like, I remember Jon Stewart when he did a Daily Show segment and everyone was like, Africa loves this guy. Like, yeah, it's like George W. Bush did a whole bunch of good in Africa. Not much anywhere else in here and in the Middle East, but I would struggle to say is like, what's the one signature piece of legislation that Donald Trump done to help Americans? There isn't one.
No, there isn't. He doesn't have any real successes.
No.
The successes that he has, or that people give him credit for, are the successes that he has manufactured, or successes that he has piggybacked himself onto that belong to other people. Veterans' choice, which
Right.
obviously is something that affects you as a veteran.
Yeah.
These are things that this is one of many things that Donald Trump saw someone else do and decided to claim credit for it.
Right.
His entire business model of the Trump organization is piggybacking his name onto a building that someone else has developed or a
Yep.
product that someone else has developed and is then paying him to license his name and his brand. So he's not making any of this shit. He's not making Trump vodka, or he's not making these NFTs. He's not making any of this crap that he sells, the sneakers or whatever it is. He's just being contacted by people who want to attach his name for whatever fucked up reason to their product. So
Mhm.
he doesn't, contrary to the myths about Donald Trump, he doesn't build anything. He
No.
doesn't make anything. And one of the reasons why he looks so weird, for example, is because he thinks that his overall appearance, whether it's the hair or the orange makeup or the baggy, ill-fitting suits and the long tie and the whole Donald Trump aesthetic, that's all part of his stupid goddamn brand, because he thinks that that's what he's selling to people. That's what he's licensing. The visage of Donald Trump is what is his best moneymaker. But in that regard, he's still not making anything
No.
o- other than having to do that dairy swirl of a haircut on his head every day, which, by the way, makes me smile every once in a while in the midst of this goddamn dark ride, this nightmare that we're in right now. The fact that Donald Trump has to wake up every morning, step out of that shower
Yeah.
naked with the 9 feet of Gollum hair hanging down. And then he's got to step in front of a mirror and look at himself in the mirror every day and have to digest that horror show
Yeah.
that is the visual aspect of Donald Trump. That makes
Oh
me
God.
happy, Fred. I mean, we
Yeah.
gotta find our joy somewhere, don't we?
Hey, you know what? Often it's in petty things. I remember when one of the best things I ever loved from your podcast was when I guess maybe his veneers came loose or something. And he said, "See,
Oh,
now you're safe." You know,
oh yeah,
like,
yeah. You know what? I still think he had a TIA in the middle of
you
that
think? Oh yeah,
Jerusalem
okay. I
speech.
remember. Yeah, you said that. You know, like
Something
yeah,
happened to him that was, I think, obviously the easy theory is something came loose in his mouth.
yes,
But
yes,
that was, he couldn't pronounce words. I mean, I guess if you've got dental work in there and something comes loose, you're trying to hold it back. I mean, that's a valid theory. I prefer to think that something short circuited in his brain. I mean, we can actually see it. We can chart visually and in terms of audio his
yeah,
decline, because I was talking about this on the show just this past week,
yeah,
that it used to be back in 2016, through maybe most of his first term, that he was a motor mouth. You get that guy
yeah, oh, yeah.
going and he could talk a mile in a minute. It was nothing worthwhile that he was saying, but
Right.
he could talk at a much more rapid clip. And
Yes.
now he's much slower. I mean,
Hmm.
noticeably so, to the point where almost every other word he's going, eh. So if you watch him talk, like even yesterday with Putin, he was taking some questions and in
Yeah.
between words, he could barely spit these things out. So I think something has happened to him on a repeated basis that we don't know about. And that calls into question the validity of all of his medical records, which, going back to Dr. Bornstein, we know for a fact that Donald Trump sat outside Dr. Bornstein's office and dictated that first medical letter in
Hmm.
2016 to Dr. Bornstein, which then Dr. Bornstein released as his own analysis of Donald Trump's, medical records.
Right.
So this is something that we know very, very well, that Donald fabricates his health and medical records. So again, why is anyone giving him the benefit of the doubt? Well, maybe his teeth came loose. No, I'm going to assume the absolute worst, because I don't believe what this guy says any further than I could throw his car.
I really hope that, when he goes, that
Yeah.
we can save his body for science and understand the the effect of fast food, of that consumption
Right.
on the brain, of a human being. Because I kind of wonder, it's like, is it the trans fats or the sodium that has creeped its way in like a sci-fi movie of black, it just spreads into there, and it's just like, say the thing, Robert. Say the
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
And that,
it was like when Elvis died. There was an autopsy when Elvis died. And I think one of the autopsy results was Elvis had a 40-pound impacted colon. And that's probably one of the reasons why he died, I'm sure. But these are the kind of things that I think you can end up finding in Donald Trump. Not the healthiest guy in the world. And he's fortunate in insofar as, and this is the thing that sometimes makes me lose sleep, is that his parents lived to a ripe old age. I think I, I may be mistaken on this, but I think his parents lived into their 90s, which is not good for democracy. But you know what? Every I talk to people all the time who think, and this is like an independently reached consensus, which is that he may not make it through the year. I don't know. It's hard to predict. I'm not a doctor. I can't
you're hoping he's not Sean
diagnose him from.
Thurman, just
Right, right.
where they just wheel him out, and it's just like, they just give him a Diet Coke, and he just kind of sits there, and that's it. Like,
Something's got to, but something has to break because otherwise democracy is going to break if it hasn't already been broken.
yeah,
And yeah, and going back to what we were talking about initially is I think people have just become, and I'm talking about a certain class or faction of people, they've just become utterly impatient with democracy and have just
yeah,
decided whether they're bored or it's groupthink or whatever the cause, they've just decided, well, fuck democracy. It just doesn't work anymore.
right.
And it does work, but it just requires a certain amount of participation, a certain kind of participation, and some patience, some willingness to negotiate and compromise and fight a battle with words and votes rather than with guns and propaganda and disinformation.
I think a big problem we have nowadays, and this is kind of a product of social media, is there's this kind of weird dichotomy, right? This juxtaposition of, you can like get things at your fingertips, right? You can order groceries, you can order food, you can have damn near anything delivered, right? You can
Yeah.
have people come to your house and um make you a set of keys, like fabricate you all kinds of stuff. But then there's also this in-shitification, right? Where
Hmm.
it's you're trying to, it's like, oh, I've got to wait on hold for 5 hours with freaking, some corporate entity for my cable or this or that,
Mm.
and so you have these. So one, we have less time, even though we have more technology that's supposed to be a time saver. We all have less of it because we're
Mm.
having to work more. We're having to pay for more things. Things are more as a service. So the impatience is higher. So it's like you have this weird kind of thing. It's like, well, I can get this at my fingertips. Why can't I just have? Why can't I have democracy?
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's like, well, because that's not how it works. Because,
Hmm.
it's like we got, no, it's got to be faster. I got to have just, and then that's where the grifters come in and just say, if you just trusted me, I'll make everything better. And then you don't have to worry about it. You can go over
Right.
there and live your life and have all this, and I'll make it better. And they never do. They
Hmm.
never, ever do. And that, I think, is a big problem. If you want to hang out, go for it. I got Larissa Reinhart, great guest. You want to hang out? I'll bring her on, and we'll talk some more, man. And I'm glad you're
Okay.
here. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll hang out a little longer. Sure.
because I'm going to be here like for a while.
I don't know how you're going to do it. I am
I've
impressed.
got two other friends, Lawrence and Nick, and we're like splitting it up. But I still have 8 hours to do. You know, like dude, I'm 48 years old. I'm not. There's no way I'm doing like 24 hours. Larissa, you know,
Hi.
Hi,
there
Larissa.
she. This is
Hi.
my good friend Bob Seska of the Bob Seska Show,
Oh, yes,
and
I subscribe to you. Nice to meet you in
Oh,
person.
hey, that's great. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
and
absolutely.
this is Larissa, who is like, if she's should be like a professor, as this big smarty pants that she is, you
Thank you
know.
very much.
And she's written a lot of amazing books. I actually, let me see. Here it is. I've got it.
Oh, good.
First to the front,
Yes.
and it is about
Oh.
Dickie Chappelle, who is it was tell us about Dickie Chappelle.
Wow.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you for queuing me up on that. That's so sweet of you. Dickie
Yeah.
Chappelle. Yeah. Dickie Chappelle was an incredible combat photographer and journalist. And she got her start on Iwo Jima and Okinawa with the Marines. And she was the first woman to the front of Iwo Jima. She was the only woman to cover operations in Okinawa. It was the first time she went on patrol with the Marines, actually. And then she went on to cover a number of wars of liberation throughout the Cold War. So she was the first journalist of any gender to be embedded with the Algerian Liberation Front. She was one of the few Western reporters to march with Castro's army. She was the only Western reporter in Havana when the Revolutionary Army marched through the gates. And she had a real sense of democratic values. And she would write about these wars of liberation with a sense of egalitarianism and humanism that was, and she was very clear in her writing that these people deserved their freedom and self-determination just as we did, just as our own revolutionaries did. And she was also a reporter. She was one of the first on the ground in Southeast Asia and uncovered numerous secret missions run by the CIA, unbeknownst to her even. But she was on the ground for the beginning of Operation Rolling Thunder. She was with the Special Forces during Operation White Star. And her work was ahead of its time. And a lot of it is published for the first time in my book, which reveals a great deal about how that conflict unfolded over the period of 15 years beginning in 1959, that hadn't been published before because her writing was censored and suppressed, and my book is the first time that work has seen the light of day. So it was a really great book to write, and I wrote it during the first Trump administration at a time when we needed the fourth estate as we do now. And it was it really got me through those years to see that another way is possible, another way to hold power to accountability is possible, and that there's examples of it in our own history.
If I'm hearing you correctly, like what you're telling me is that Dickie Chappelle is what we think Ernest Hemingway was.
Yes. Right? Oh my God. Yes, exactly.
But
yeah, but she didn't drink, and she wasn't a misogynist, and she was a better writer.
I mean, he did make fun of. Yeah, he did write some great books. He did.
He did. I'm just.
But he ain't no Dickie Chappelle.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So that is awesome.
Thank you.
Oh man, I'm glad I got you both on here, because it seems like everything that's going around today, it feels like it's a distraction for Trump, from something that he doesn't want to get out, and that would be the Epstein files. You know, what do you guys like? I'll toss it to you guys. How do you think that the Epstein files, and is there a there in order to maybe not take down the Trump administration, but hurt him politically? Is it something that we should keep hyping on? And
yes. Yes. In fact, you know what? There's
you go ahead and share first.
That I was literally just like the softest of pitch, just floating on a pillow right over the plate.
There's actually, weirdly to say, there's an advantage to not releasing the Epstein files, at least not right now, because it makes it. And while yes, we want to know what's in the Epstein files, but at the same time, the very fact that Donald is engaged in this ongoing cover-up reveals so much of what might be in those files. We already know that he's all over Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs for the Lolita Express. We also know that there are something like 14 different points of contact for Donald Trump in Jeffrey Epstein's Little Black Book. So we know that, and obviously there's a copious photographic and video record of the two of them hanging out together. And by the way, that video, that NBC video of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump partying together, tell me that's not the happiest you've ever seen Donald Trump look in the history of seeing Donald Trump on video. I've never seen him happier than he was when he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Never, ever, ever, ever. So, but at the same time, the longer the Epstein files go unreleased, the more people are going, okay, now really, what's in those files? Why is he not releasing these files? So there's an upside, obviously, to forcing the files to get released, and our friend Allison Gill is working on that. But there's also an upside to not releasing the files. And so I think that makes a lot of sense, that argument. So we'll see how this ends up going.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, I think Donald Trump is more afraid of who else is in the Epstein files, not just him. Because,
Okay.
you know, it is the entire male oligarchy that is in those files. And sure, Donald Trump is in there. But I will tell you something. Donald Trump, I'm sure, had the FBI already scrub his name. He could have done that a long time ago and released the files. That's not his biggest problem. His biggest problem is every other wealthy individual who happens to be male in this country that is in those files. And if he releases their names,
Ooh.
unredacted, he's dead meat. I don't know how else to say that. And
well, the other thing is,
what if Putin's in the files? Or what if Putin's oligarchs are in the files? They're in the files.
Yeah.
This isn't about Trump keeping his name out of the files only. It's about keeping his whole cabal of oligarchs safe. That's what he's really afraid of.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also the fact that there will be so many redactions. I mean, thousands and thousands of redactions. It's almost like that thing where if a person is cheating on their spouse and they're engaged online with whoever they're cheating with, and what they do is, oftentimes, from what I understand, is that they delete their internet history. And the fact that their internet history is deleted is indication that there was something that they were trying to hide. So if the other spouse comes in and is checking through their internet history and there is no internet history, it's like, why did you delete your internet history? And that in and of itself is incriminating. So the very fact that there are so many redactions, that would add fuel to the speculation, I believe. And even redactions that covered up the names of other celebrities or other oligarchs,
public
as you were saying.
CEOs.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would assume, well, maybe this is Donald Trump. Maybe this is why. And then you also have the context around those redactions too, that make it seem even more suspicious, generate more conversation. So he's kind of screwed either way, as far as I'm concerned, redactions or not.
Yeah, he's absolutely fucked. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I've got a good reason, Bob, that I would give to a spouse if I had one for deleting my internet history. And that is because that's why I still have an Amiga. I would say, sweetheart, I needed that kilobyte. I needed the RAM.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I was deleting files.
We'll keep that in the back of our mind.
Yeah. It was a virus. There was a virus that deleted my internet history.
No. What was it? Was it Glenn Greenwald said it? It's like, I don't know, honey. I was typing out a document, and all of a sudden, it just started deleting. The keystrokes started deleting, and then all of a sudden, I saw the drop-down menu, and they erased my search history.
That was the guy who wrote the book that the Snowden movie was based on.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and he was claiming that the NSA was deleting his book as he was typing it, which sounds more like his delete key was stuck down and he didn't realize it.
Yeah, but I love that as like a PR, campaign. Like the NSA hacked into my computer. Like that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah. I think it was an article that it was in the Guardian, right? That got published.
It was a Guardian writer, and the first name was Luke. I forget his last name, but was just everyone was trying to get in on that story on some level. And that was his way in. NSA's deleting my book as I'm typing it. Oh, sure, Jan.
Yeah,
there's some NSA analyst just going like, oh yeah? Like this.
This won't look suspicious at all.
Well, what if it's like an NSA analyst journalist who's an aspiring author, and he's like, this is not good writing.
Yeah,
You need
that's
to
right. He's like trying to help him by
yeah, right?
deleting the
Yeah.
shitty, inaccurate sentences.
And look, maybe that's it. Is maybe he like, because the guy turned on like, the comments features and just like, and he's like, I was looking for a pat on the back. I was not looking for notes.
That is hysterical. Oh my God.
Oh man, yeah. I think you're right, Bob. I also think you're right, Larissa. It's crazy to think just how damaging that those files might be.
Yeah.
And where they might go, and how deep the rabbit hole is. Because you have to wonder, like, why haven't these things been released? And I hate the fact that, like, okay, I'm with the conspiracy theorists now.
I just use the word cabal. I've never used the word cabal in my life, and now it's just like in my head all the time. But
well, I used it once when I didn't get the coupon I had at Culver's, and I was like,
real.
it's a cabal.
That's real.
It's a cabal.
Yeah.
But that might have been misplaced. I think this one is right on it.
Yeah.
100%. But I hate it because everything I look at for Donald Trump now, I'm always like, this is a distraction.
Mhm.
Oh, this is a distraction from the
Yeah.
Epstein file. This is a distraction, and I have to, and simultaneously I have to talk about it, but it's like I can't give it its due, because again, I'm like, well, it's a distraction from the Epstein files. It's a distraction from the Epstein files.
Well, yeah, I think you can have a distraction at the same time as that distraction is actually an important thing that we need to focus on.
As well.
That's what the conundrum about existing in a Donald Trump world right now is that all these distractions are horrible trespasses against the rule of law and the Constitution and basic human decency, human rights, etc. So we have no choice but to focus on these things. It's like, I see this a lot of times, certainly while Joe Biden was president, we don't even want to say his name anymore.
Mhm.
But while he's still a figure who has incredible sway over, whatever it is, 40% of the voting population, we have no choice but to pay attention and to listen to what the ridiculousness that he spews every day. And so that's the real conundrum that we face as a society, where we know why he's doing these things, but they're still important things despite being distractions.
Yeah, but I would say this. To me, Donald Trump is basically an emotionally abusive partner. And he is, we are all in a relationship with him now, unfortunately. And I think a lot of people who have been in emotionally, physically abusive relationships recognize his behavior pattern, which is always to move the goalpost and always to move the parameters of the world in which we exist. And the important thing in such a relationship is to find the exit door and never lose sight of that exit door.
Yeah.
And move forward towards that. And while, yes, these other things, this meeting, in Alaska with Putin, that was disgraceful, and on and on and on, ICE, on and on, are important, but also distractions. To me, releasing the Epstein files, getting them released, continuing to hammer on this single issue is that exit door. Yes. And so going back, Frederic, to what you were asking, should we continue to push on this? Yes, absolutely. For that.
100%.
Yeah, there was a poll that came out recently along those lines where it said that if it was unequivocally proven that Donald Trump raped girls who were trafficked to him by Jeffrey Epstein, that his support among Republicans would drop to 47%. And it was like, well, geez, 47% of Republicans would still, they would still support him. But the fact of the matter is that support has always hovered at around 90%.
Yeah.
So that kind of drop by half would be electorally significant. So that speaks directly to what you're saying, which is that's the thing that ends him.
Yeah.
Because a Republican support dropping by 45% would be enormous electorally. And I mean enormous in the best possible ways for democracy.
Yeah.
And I think we just stumbled upon a a game changer strategy, because going to Larissa's point, if we're all in a relationship with Donald Trump, what that means is America is in the biggest polypod there is. And everyone knows a polypod is far leftist. Thusly, we're all far leftists. You're welcome,
Fantastic. I
MAGA.
love it.
You're
Ergo,
welcome, MAGA. We're all far leftist because of Donald Trump. Don't you want a president that you're not in a relationship with? One that just goes to work and just does his job and leaves us alone.
true.
Him or her.
Yeah.
Him or her.
Them? No, not
Yeah.
them, I guess. Not for
Yeah,
me.
well, it could be,
Could be.
I mean, it could be,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm convinced that, Lindsey Graham is non-binary. He defies classification.
I think he identifies as a slug.
And by the way, this part of the conversation is going to wake me up at 3:00 this morning, 3:00 in the morning, and I was going to wake up in a cold sweat thinking about Donald Trump and a polypod. It's like, oh my God, what was that?
I'm going to have to drink that away tonight, Frederic. Thanks for that.
This is what happens when Fred has 24 hours to fill.
God.
I was like, where is the Larry King? The Larry King when I need it.
Right, that Larry King tape.
Yep.
Where he's been doing 30 consecutive shows and he's exhausted, and someone asks him about journalism school and he thinks he's asking him about surgery, and it just ends up on this. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's going to be you in about
Yeah.
about an hour.
Because I'm a professional. I'm a professional. I'll tell you, I'm going to be up at like 1 a.m. this morning, and I'm going to be doing and I'm going to be, on a theory of why I think Louis Tully is the hero of Ghostbusters. Like that's where it's going to go.
Well, that's valid. That's an important.
It is valid.
No, honestly, that is the movie you shouldn't watch as an adult because it will ruin your childhood. Like I've written, I haven't written my piece on that, but I did a post and I think where it ruined it for me was, so when, Dana Barrett is possessed, and Venkman finally goes to the house, like he's got the first date with Dana, and he's calling Ray and he's like, I just gave her 30 cc's of Thorazine, and I went, why did he have Thorazine with him? He was going on a date. You don't just carry that to a date. And so and I started to get heart palpitations because of the implication. I was like, oh dear God, Dana, no, don't take this man. And
he's
then there's
brought
Louis Tully
Thorazine to a date. Oh
yes,
my God.
Enough to knock out a possessed woman. The implication is pretty clear, but then there's Louis Tully, who's like, I was out on a ledge like 40 stories up, disconnecting your cable, so you didn't get
my God.
the landlord called on you. I mean, I'm telling you, as soon as I had that, I was like, I can't watch this movie anymore. I can't. My child was ruined.
Oh no, it's terrible. It totally doesn't hold up. I unfortunately watched it as an adult as well, and it was just god awful. And the plot doesn't even hang together either, in addition to the creep zorness. But you know what movie really does, and I know this is probably not on topic of the Epstein files, but Groundhog Day with Bill Murray.
Oh, that is. Oh, that's a good one.
And its sci-fi cousin, Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise.
Yes,
which is basically Groundhog Day, but set in the near future. Yeah.
I will say Annie Potts as Janine, wonderful, love her in Ghostbusters. She's great. That is. It's like that's who I want as an assistant, and especially the way they wrote her. It's because at some point she's just gotten used to the crazy, where it's they come in with Lewis when he's possessed, and she just looks at the cop. She's like, dropping off or picking up. And then it made me think, I was like, do you have people stored somewhere in the place? What is happening? Is that normal? And the guy says dropping off. It's so this is routine. So this has happened before, right? They just send these people to you, and where do they go? There's so many unanswered questions, you know?
I have a friend of mine who has this theory that Jenny is the villain of Forrest Gump. Jenny basically is the worst person, or maybe one of the worst villains of 90s movies. And I don't know if I can agree with that, but I
I
get
It's
the
controversial.
comedy
You're
of that
going to gain
analysis. Yeah.
and lose subscribers for saying that.
Right.
I'm not gonna buy that. Like, I understand that argument, you know. I and but it's implied and heavily that she suffered from very horrible abuse,
Oh,
right?
of
So
course. Yeah.
so it's, and I'm not saying that, like, but I mean, you know, I mean, Forrest was a little bit of a pick me. I mean, just a little bit. It's like, hey Jenny, I went and got me a Congressional Medal of Honor. Will you go out with me now? It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
And what they don't tell you about is the deleted scene from Forrest Gump where he's in a polypod.
That's editor's cut. That was so crazy. Yeah. Wild.
Is it maybe this is too much?
well, the problem with that is the only reason he's in the polypod is, he's the one that cuts the grass. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much like what he does. He does the yard work. It's like,
Are you saying
Sometimes
cuts
you
the
need
graph
extra,
euphemistically?
Sometimes you just need
yes,
extra.
yes, and no. This is a
Yes.
family show, kind of.
You're the one who started this.
I know, that's my problem. I can't. It's right there. Bob
You'll never
knows.
watch Forrest Gump the same way again.
No, and that's the point. Bob knows there is a part of me, Larissa. You don't know this yet because we always have these very serious discussions.
Serious.
Yeah, it's very serious. Like, they don't know about Comedy Fred. Bob knows about Comedy Fred.
Oh, I know about Comedy Fred for sure.
Yes, and so and that was so as I was when I first met Bob, I was taking him and Ches back to the airport, and I said, "Well, you got to understand, there's two Freds, right? There's serious Fred, and that's the guy who's like in the class and doing organizing this, and then there's Comedy Fred, and Comedy Fred is just." I can't help but do the comedy. I can't help but say the sarcastic remark. I can't help but just, like, it's just there. It's like, oh, damn it. Like, it's like, don't do it. Don't do it. That's the guy who will blow a first date because inadvertently she'll say something and it's just like a fat little pitch, just slowly, like in Bugs Bunny, where it's just like it's got the the backfire sounds like, and I gotta swing at it. I just have to.
So, have you ever pulled out the Peter Venkman Thorazine theory and on our first
On
date?
your first date?
Yes, because Comedy Fred has to go there, right?
I think
haven't.
woman would appreciate that though, as long as you assured her that you did not have Thorazine in your bag.
That's true.
I haven't. However, now that you've mentioned it, I believe I'll say, so listen, and I'll tell her this of the Ghostbusters, and then I'll say, just want you to know, this is insulin.
Fred, I think we need to offline about your dating strategy. I'm happy to talk.
It's pretty bad.
That's not a good strategy for a first date, sweetie.
We need to have an intervention or something. Yeah.
So, Larissa, did I ever share how I bombed a date in Philadelphia? So I'll go ahead with this. So I was this was during Hillary Clinton, so it was 2016 election. And that was back when OK Cupid was still a thing, right? And I was working at American Airlines, and I'm in, I got a date with a woman who was a PhD candidate in, like, I think international law or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're texting back and forth, and I'm like, "Ooh, I got me a smartie that does, Pilates." Like, I'm like excited. I'm like thrilled, And so we're texting back and forth. Literally, we're gonna meet at this bar in Philadelphia, right? So I'm hopping on the SEPTA. Boom, I'm there in 30 minutes. One of those kitschy bars that's got, like, you go upstairs and somebody just literally set up just like an IKEA bar, and it's like, hey, here's a beer out of a tub with some ice, that you can crack open yourself. That'll be $10. It's in that era. Okay.
Peak teens.
Yeah. It's like it's artisanal. It's artisanal PBR.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're texting back and forth, right? And Hillary was in the news about something, and I said, man, it's like they're really raking her over the coals. And she's like, yeah, Bernie should be the guy. And I was like, she's like, who did you vote for in the primary? And I was like, I was like,
good answer.
so part of me is just like, don't answer this, don't do it, you know. But the other side of me was like, oh, like who wasn't thinking and listening just said, oh, I voted for Hillary. And I saw the dot 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 multiple times. Like, and she's like, we're gonna have to talk about this. And I'm like, we haven't even met for a first date. I'm already in trouble. Like, what? I voted for Hillary. You know, like, so.
You know what? I lived that exact story because
Yeah.
Kimberly and I.
It gets better because
Yeah.
the obstinance will come in Frederic because, you know, first he tries to save it, but eventually the obstinance will come because Comedy Fred's like, so go to the bar.
Comedy Fred.
Go to the bar, and it's like, we got a strategy. All right. We cuddle up in my head. It was like, all right, bro, we're going to shift. We're going to talk about whatever. We're going to find out what she likes. You know, we're going to talk about her thesis or something. She don't want to talk about her dissertation. She don't want to talk about that. We're going to pivot to this, like, blah, blah. I had it all laid out. Right. So I go in, we sit down. It's like, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, pump the energy up. I'm ready. Right. And all of a sudden, she does this. Like, she's sitting aside, and she goes, fully turns to me and says, we need to talk about why you voted for Hillary. I was like, oh shit, you know. So an hour proceeds to me like about how I like it was the morally deficient choice, and I should have voted for Bernie, right? And I'm like, look, I understand that, but this is about, you know, I was like, I like her policy here, I like her policy there, blah blah, right? And somehow we ended up where she won't let this go. I'm like, hey, let's talk about this. Nope, right back to this. Hey, let's talk about this. Nope, right back to this. And I'm seeing my dreams of, you know, like Pilates and, you know, like
intellectual conversation.
Yes, it's all just it's crumbling before my eyes. You know, like it's
disappearing like the bubbles in your artisanal PBR.
Yes. I could taste the backwash of bitter loneliness of singlehood in Philadelphia. And so we eventually get to it where she says, well, the problem is, I was saying, well, we're looking for incremental change. You know, we vote for Hillary and then we push and we eventually get Bernie, blah, blah. She goes, well, the problem is that's not how legislation's done. Legislation comes in all one big whack, like Social Security. And Comedy Fred's like, you know, she fucked up, right? You know, she fucked up. You know, she fucked up. Go ahead and do it. And I'm like, no, Comedy Fred, no,
do it.
we can't do it. You know,
and the well actually starts to roll out of your
oh my
mouth.
God, it came, bro.
Like,
And
no,
I was just
wait,
like,
no,
by
no.
that point, my Comedy Fred's like, you ain't gonna get none. Yeah, it's done. Go ahead and leave your mark, baby. Leave it. And I said, and I did. And so I took a long swig and steadied myself. I said, well, actually, Social Security was started by FDR for a program for widows and orphans. And over time, after decades of legislation and fixes and here and there, it expanded to what it is today. So, no, like big legislation, more often than not, happens incrementally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so she's on her phone, sitting there. She didn't say
Googling
nothing.
It.
And so I'm waiting for her to come back. And I said, what are you looking up? She goes, I'm looking up, and she goes, I'm looking up to see if you're right. And I said, oh yeah, what's your research tell you? She says that you're half right. I said, well, keep looking. You'll find out I'm all the way right.
God,
Done.
that's
Over.
it. Date
That was
is
it.
over. Yeah,
It's done. You know, no Pilates, no in-depth discussions, no nothing.
But I do want to say this conversation is really interesting to me on two levels. And I'm like, there's no real comedy, Larissa. There's just like Professor Larissa. So what I found interesting about this conversation was I'm reading Calling In by Loretta Ross right now, which is
Okay.
about, if you don't know this book, if you don't know her, it's really about the antidote to cancel culture.
Mhm.
rather than having basically this continued war of attrition on the left, to
Yeah.
open dialogue for conversation and be able to disagree with each other on points of policy and move toward together as, towards a common cause. And I think
Mhm.
that is so important for us today. I mean, the 2016 was really like peak cancel culture. It
Mm.
was, and I think we have to be very clear that it was a time of reckoning. A lot of people were, rightfully being called out for the Me Too movement, for egregious racism, for blatant homophobia, and on and on and on. But then other instances came up that were personal weaponizations of past mistakes or points in our own personal evolution that were
Mhm.
used against us. And we
Yes.
have to stop doing that. We need to start calling each other in rather than calling each other out so that we can all move forward as a movement together. And the second part of what you said that's so important that we all understand is incrementalism. And
Mhm.
I think when we all look at how overwhelming the Trump administration is, ICE, everything that's going on, we have to remember that real change starts at a very basic level. And that basic level can be, in our own local governments or with state legislation or with small pieces of federal legislation. So yeah, while it was a terrible first date, and I'm so sorry for you, I think it was very, illustrative of so many of the things that we're experiencing now and why we are experiencing them.
It's true. It's interesting you mentioned that because I remember when I was organizing in 2012, and you're right on, Larissa. Is like I remember having to go rally the troops like after like an ACA defeat or it saved this or whatever, and it just wouldn't get people excited. It's like it's one of those things where like policy doesn't really get people excited.
Hmm.
But David Simon, the creator of The Wire, said where like democracy dies and where you kind of get screwed is in those sort of municipal those municipal meetings
Yeah.
where they change some small thing that you don't even realize, right? That's and you and unless you have a reporter there that says, hey, this is a big deal because of X, Y, and Z. Or you take someone like Joe Walsh, right, who's a former Tea Partier. He supports Israel. He's a Democrat now, but it's like people say, "Oh well, yeah, no, he needs to go." It's like, well, no, if he's pushing for the Constitution and he's pushing for, I could disagree with him vehemently on a
Hmm.
bunch of issues, but if we line up and say, no, like the Constitution matters, civil rights matter,
Rule of law
and
Mhm.
matters.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if you're with me on those things, we can debate about other things,
Yeah.
right? But if you're not, then and because then you fall into this trap of, well, both parties are the same because they don't get anything done. Well, no, it's their things are getting done. It's just which incremental direction do you want to go in? Do you want to go incrementally back towards civil rights? Do you want to go incrementally back towards democracy, or do you want to go to fascism and authoritarianism?
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I think but I think that point does bring us back to the Epstein files because we know that there are Democrats and Republicans in those files. And that the party, I agree that, and I obviously agree that we all need to come together on these central issues, but the party also needs to reckon with itself that it is a predominantly corporate controlled party, and
Mhm.
that has to change. Those values have to change because they are actually aligned with Trump's values of an oligarchy controlling America. And I think that's what a lot of voters are reacting to, whether or not they're conscious of it, whether or not they understand the intricacies of it. They know they're getting screwed over. And as you said, Fred, when you and Bob were talking earlier, you know, um, the sort of snake oil salesman can come in and say, "Just trust me, I'll fix it."
Hmm.
But the reality is that no, they're just misdirecting your
Yeah.
attention and giving you the easy fix rather than the more difficult reality.
Yep.
That's the real distraction. That's the corrosive distraction that we face, where
Mhm.
so many people, as you're saying, Larissa, are completely getting screwed by the oligarchy.
Yeah.
And at the same time, blaming people who have nothing to do with the oligarchy, blaming black people or blaming women or
Immigrants.
blaming immigrants. Yeah. And so that's talk about, yeah, I mean, an immense misdirect that is fueled by social media algorithms, that's fueled by politics, where, yeah, look at this shiny object over here, blame that thing so
Yep.
that you're not blaming the actual source for why so many people are utterly screwed in the economy. Why there's socialism for the oligarchy, but there's capitalism for everyone else.
Just rugged, old, like Wild West capitalism, and it's getting worse and worse. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
right.
inhumane. But yes.
And the crazy thing is, it doesn't help corporations either, right? It doesn't, because you eventually, and this goes back to Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations, is an unregulated market first, eats everything around it, then it eats itself. And we're kind of living through that. It is, you want to have good workers. You want to have, people that, like, you don't have a consumer economy if people don't have any money to spend,
Yeah.
and then everything starts to break down. It's like, it's like, well, hey, I cut costs in my company by cutting everything, and it's like, we made such a profit. Yeah, this quarter. What about next quarter?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, well, you're done.
Yeah, you talk about a misdirect. One of the things that's misdirected so many people is the fact that as wages have stagnated, goods have become cheaper through overseas labor, overseas slave labor. And so while the things that we buy in stores or buy online have become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, it seems like these things are still within our reach, or the kind of bling lifestyle that we see on reality shows on television all the time, Real Housewives and so forth. And so people feel as though they need to aspire to that, and cheap goods helps them get there, but in the long run they end up spending more, because you have to, you buy a cheap television. All the televisions are now disposable, where you can buy one at Costco for $500. The problem is, what they don't tell you is you're going to have to buy another one in 5 years.
Well, but like Donald Trump said, it's okay with the tariffs because girls don't need as many dolls anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like even those overseas goods made by slave labor, those are going to get more expensive. And that bling lifestyle that America has been, fooled to believe is the American dream. And sorry for the patriotic talk, but rather than freedom, is going to disappear. And then at the same time, that freedom is also disappearing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, it's going to be, I think a lot of people I wish it weren't for the, categorical imperative, but I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes opened quite soon to the
Yeah.
line.
And along those lines, what is that eye-opening thing going to have to be? Because this is one of the things that keeps me up at night, because the darkest side of my analysis of all of this, what's been going on for at least the last 10 years, is this course correction going to require a lot of pain in the process? And what degree of pain? Certainly, COVID wasn't enough. The fact that we had a negligent president who was responsible for, from March of 2020 through January of 2021, exactly 400,000 American deaths, because he refused to act on time and then decided to shut down the protocols prematurely. And so that generated this massive loss, but that wasn't enough. January 6th wasn't enough. Do we have to face some sort of cataclysm? Like, I'm deeply ensconced in the Star Trek history and universe and fandom and so on. And one of the things that had to happen in the Star Trek historical timeline was they had to go through a second Civil War, a eugenics war, and World War III before they got to that Star Trek utopia. And my thought exercise is, how do we get to the Star Trek future without annihilating ourselves or coming close to annihilating ourselves in the meantime? So in the near term, what is that thing got to be that finally snaps people out of this torpor, this brainwashing that has been inflicted upon, specifically the United States, for the last 40 years, beginning with the Reagan Revolution, and now coming to a serious head with Donald Trump? What needs to happen to reverse that? Can we do it with a something more mild or something more incremental, or does it have to be some kind of cataclysm that does it?
Well, I think there are two things that are at issue here that could be real game changers. And the first is the people who don't vote and bringing them into the process.
Yeah.
And what threshold of pain will they have to experience before they feel that they need to express their voice? And the second, I think, thing that we really need to look at is women. What threshold of pain will women experience, particularly white women, before they change from voting Republican to voting Democrat?
Mhm.
And I think that particular pain threshold I can speak to is about to be passed, because women are going to start in red states and purple states. White women are going to start seeing their daughters not be able to get reproductive care, whether that's getting an abortion from a date rape or an accidental pregnancy while they're in college. Or, for instance, when I gave birth to my first child, it was an emergency C-section, and I and he are alive today because I had amazing care. That care is not available to a lot of women in red states because OBGYNs are fleeing those states. And then rural hospitals are closing down. So you're going to have women giving birth at home when they shouldn't be giving birth at home, or in, ill-equipped emergency rooms. So that pain threshold, I think, is going to be passed very soon. And I think we should really, I hope that Democrats, I know that they're focusing on abortion rights, and that's great. But I also think that they need to be focusing on reproductive care and that experience that women have. And be sure not only to focus on how they can prevent and help you have abortive care if you want it or need it, but also how they can help you, how their policies will help women have healthy, safe experiences of giving birth. Because the Republicans are literally killing women.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about extremism. From you see it with the manosphere, you see it with people like Pete Hegseth, who they're talking about repealing the 19th Amendment. They're talking about voting as head of household. Like that kind of, and it's on the fringe now, but it's being given attention to because our Secretary of Defense believes this kind of crap.
Mhm.
And you're seeing, and I think, to your point, Larissa, is it's gonna cross that threshold because South Carolina, when they had the I think it was an instance with an 18-year-old woman who was giving birth and had complications, and there was problems with the law, and you had women who were South Carolina Republicans stand up and say, no, we need to make sure we account for reproductive care. Da 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 da. They got voted out.
Fuck you. You're gone. Yeah.
The Republican Party in South Carolina just said no women. So it's now all white. It's like it's mostly white men. You've got some black Republicans there, but it's mostly white. There's no women in the South Carolina Republican Party. They're gone.
And then also, why are we here? We're here to talk about the Epstein files and the fact that Donald Trump will not release the names of rapists who raped girls. Like, we are now truly seeing what the GOP thinks of women. They are for raping and for breeding and to be disposed of if they do not fulfill every single obligation that, like Donald Trump, constantly moves what those obligations are. So I think we're really seeing, the patriarchy as it's been described and as feminists like me have been sort of vilified for describing. We're now seeing it writ large as applied to everyone, regardless of your gender. So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting point. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I mean, all I would say is you don't have to refer to yourself as a feminist because you're just trying to divide us. Why can't you just be a person?
Oh yeah, well, you two definitely want to get you two divided, and I'm gonna conquer you and that sort of thing. Yeah.
I always love it when they say that. And it's always to people who are marginalized and oppressed. It's like, why would you want to identify? Can't you just be like me? Well, obviously not.
Yeah.
So
how about you give me your portion, then I'll be just like you.
but it's but it's interesting because and Shane was on here earlier, a young man, and he made a really great point. The popularity of authoritarians, and a lot of that is based. A lot of it's propaganda, but a lot of it's on, you actually do things like for at least for a time. The Nazis built the Autobahn, right? They put people back to work. Donald Trump, he's not helping anyone but the rich, and even they're going to get theirs in the end. Like it's the people, his base that voted for him. If you look at the big beautiful murder bill, that to your point, they're closing rural hospitals, they're cutting off lifelines, they're cutting off economic lifelines. These small towns, on counter to what they think with this country boy can survive crap, is they don't exist without federal support. They don't exist without infrastructure spending. They don't exist without blue state tax dollars. And they're going to learn that lesson. It's going to hurt. That's where, to your point, you're seeing it now, Bob. And I hate it because where we had our talk in East Tennessee and Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina, they got FEMA funding pulled. They still haven't recovered. There's lakes full of debris that have not been dredged, and they still haven't done everything that happened with Helene. All the damage, bridges haven't been repaired. Like in Mississippi, there's people just from a tornado. Though there's people still living in tents that have lost their homes, that FEMA has not given them the money they need because Donald Trump, for whatever reason, and Republicans in the Senate and the Congress let him get away with thinking that's his personal money.
Yeah.
That FEMA's his personal money. It's not our tax dollars that we need to use to help fellow Americans. It's like, no, we're not going to approve that. What do you mean you're not going to approve it?
Well, that's where social media disinformation steps in. Because I always wonder this, as we've observed cancer funding, cancer research being canceled. We've seen mRNA funding being canceled. Well, people in red states who voted for Donald Trump 3 times, they still get cancer. They're still affected by disease. Why don't they see this? Why don't they understand that the person they support has now endangered their lives and the lives of the people around them? And the problem is they don't know. They don't know that funding has been canceled because they're only paying attention to siloed information on whether it's social media or the podcastosphere on YouTube or Fox News or News Nation or RSBN, any of the other Fox News copycats. That's where they're getting their information, but none of that information has anything to do with the fact that the party that they support and continue to contribute to and buy the swag from is the party that's putting them in physical harm. And also at the same time, defying their values. When it comes to the Epstein files, I mean, one of the reasons why I think the Epstein files have the potential to end this, and this goes back to what you were saying earlier, Lewis, is the fact that there is such outrage over the Epstein files, I guess more than what we've seen with past issues, occurring on the MAGA side of the ledger, whether it's Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes or even Joe Rogan now has been going off about the Epstein files and some of the mass deportation atrocities that we've seen. And so that actually might break through in some way some of these areas, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. But it baffles me to see these stories come down and go, well, yeah, this thing affects MAGA voters and as much as anyone else. Why is there not outrage? Why is there not discontentment with them? And again, it's because they're just not hearing it. They're hearing the opposite of that. In fact, they're blaming Democrats for things that Donald Trump is doing. What was that poll that we saw 5-6 years ago during Donald Trump's first term? That a certain percentage of Republicans blamed Barack Obama for the response to Hurricane Katrina. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the kind of upside down in which so many of our fellow Americans live. And
Yeah.
that's why
Even-
I think it's incumbent on us who have voices in all of this to do our very best to break through,
And also,
that wall. Yeah.
yeah, and also, Bob, you were talking about Star Trek, and Epstein files are Hugh, right?
Yeah.
It is the for those of you who don't know, Hugh was a Borg who was captured by the Star Trek Enterprise. They disconnected him for the Borg. He gained independence and personality, and then they put him back to the Borg, and it totally destroyed them because now they had independent thought. So that was awesome. But the Epstein files is like this thing that is already implanted in MAGA, that if you can get them to think right critically about this issue, then that might have a chain effect for them to think critically about other issues. If they lied to me about this, what else are they lying to me about?
Yep.
And that's why it's important to continue
Yeah.
talking about this and trying to break through.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to watch how some of these people that I just mentioned, Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and the others, are like all of a sudden going, wow, this guy's a real liar. Hey, boy, he's busily covering up his crimes. And we're like, where the fuck have you been since 2015, since everything that's
Since The
happened?
Apprentice.
Are you just now noticing this? Are you noticing that he's just absolutely the most full of shit human being on the planet? That he's a notorious, the most obvious con man. Since P.T. Barnum, everyone knew that they were being bullshitted by P.T. Barnum, but they're
Yep.
like, well, he's fun,
Yeah.
and with Donald Trump, they're like, holy shit, who is this guy all of a sudden? It was
Well,
like when he first came down the escalator, everyone's like, oh, well, look at this sharp world leader in the making now, without having recognized any of the history of Donald Trump leading up to that moment on the escalator, where all the rest of us who knew what Donald Trump was all about.
Since Home Alone 1 or Home Alone 2, come on.
Yeah. But going back to the 80s and some of the things that we learned through my friend Mary Trump and the documents that she provided to the New York Times about how he used to manipulate the stock market in New York City with the help of his dad in order to profit off of that. And he would manipulate the media in order to jack up stock prices and then bail out. Pump and dump scams. Green mailing is what they called it. This is the kind of thing that he's been operating in forever. And everyone's just maybe now realizing in 2025 the power of disinformation, again, the power of social media and YouTube. I don't think we're ready for it.
I do want to bring up something because I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. So right now I'm researching for a novel, the Nazi propaganda rings in 1930s New York City. And Nazi propaganda was illegal, right? Like they would go to the piers and the harbor and they would search the ships for Nazi propaganda coming in. They would confiscate it and they would burn it. And if you were in possession of Nazi propaganda, you had broken the law. I mean, at what point do we regulate social media and the airwaves that are owned by the people of the United States to prohibit speech, hate speech, and speech that is antithetical to the democratic project of this country? Like, is that something we can do, or does that hew too close to deterring freedom of speech? I mean, there has to be. How can we deal with this onslaught of misinformation, lies, and Nazi propaganda?
I think
because it is. I mean, it's a really good question because it is completely incompatible with democracy to have this level of discourse and this level of disinformation to the point where it is so thoroughly corrupted by overseas influence and bad actors spending however much money to inject ridiculousness into the minds of American voters. And that's what we've seen with Russia. And so, and obviously with other countries as well, but most dominantly Russia. So yeah, it's I think a question for our times. One of the biggest questions for our times is, how do we marginalize this again? And can we do it without regulating online speech? I don't know if it can be done.
Well, and this is honestly like one of the things that me and the co-founders that Banner and Backbone, Lawrence Winnerman and Nick Paro, we talked about is is having these discussions about where do we regulate speech, because you can't it's not just like pamphlets anymore, right? It's not just these, oh, we're going to confiscate these and then go from here. It's you look at Cambridge Analytica and the outside influence they have, you look at the Russian propaganda, or you look at Epoch Times with China. These are questions we have. I mean, even now with AI, or you look at like what is the right to privacy in the digital era, where like what does that mean for us, right? Where can companies just take our data and use it to make money and not give us, you know they're using our data. If someone came and used your car and used it for Uber Eats and came back and just dropped it off and said, yeah, thanks, it's theft.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about that with companies grabbing our data and then using it to make millions of dollars. And we should be having these discussions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's a way to deal with the regulation, is to say you cannot use people's data for free, for profit, without paying them. And then that changes the marketplace of internet speech. I don't know. But I would go back. There is precedence for this. Again, like when radio first came out, foreign entities were not allowed to own radio stations in America because they were concerned about bad actors. Why are they able to, spread propaganda through the internet? Why don't we have these same regulations that we did around this new technology that we did in the 1930s around that new technology? I don't think it's beyond us as humans to, comprehend that this needs to be regulated and controlled, especially at the forefront of this media, when it actually needs the most regulation, so we can see how it plays out. And again, like, the Democrats need to be on the forefront of this. And why? Because, and how could they package this? Because so many children are being hurt by the unregulated internet on so many different levels, whether that's through phone addiction, through developing, depression or anorexia nervosa, or being preyed upon and groomed by sexual predators online. Why is this unregulated? This is absurd that today we cannot protect our children and we cannot have regulations because the tech oligarchy said, oh no, that's interrupting the marketplace and free speech. No, they are the ones who are interrupting free speech and the marketplace, actually.
Right.
Yeah, the real challenge is, as you said, Larissa, that I think the Democrats need to come up with solutions for this.
Yes.
Democracy needs to produce solutions for this, because the world that we face now, the technological world that we face, especially with with AI coming at us very, very quickly in the windshield, as things become more and more complicated and more overwhelming, that's when people start to lean toward authoritarianism. We need to get a handle on this, and the quickest, the best way to do it is to just get a strong man in here to grab it by the lapels and throw it down to the ground, and that'll be it with that issue. Yeah, exactly. And so that's why it's incumbent upon, I think, those of us who are on the normal side of the aisle, those of us who are normals, whether it's from the never Trump Republicans all the way down to the Bernie progressives, to, as much as we can, to unify around some of these bigger issues, these existential issues that we face, because otherwise that's when people just knee jerk into authoritarianism, as we've seen, whether it's, issues like abortion, social issues, trans rights, things that a lot of people can't grapple with in their heads because everything is moving so quickly. That's when they go to people like Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, and you brought up a great point with radio, with that emerging technology. You had leaders at the time that said, hey, we have to be careful about this. And a lot of times bad actors will say, well, we're in uncharted territory, so we can't regulate it, And you just saw that with the recent AI, where it's like, no regulation for 10 years. It's like, but why though? You wouldn't say that about anything else. You wouldn't say that about a new emerging technology and say,
cars. You wouldn't say
Yeah,
that
yeah,
about a
absolutely.
car.
Or airplanes,
Yeah.
which now they're talking about. So there's one of the exciting things about there's a fuel for aviation. It's ammonia based, and it produces zero emissions, right? And it's actually more efficient than the fuel they use now. There's only one problem: it eats the hell out of metal. So it's not quite there yet, but you wouldn't say it's an ammonia based fuel. There's no emissions and we fix the metal problem, but kinda, but don't regulate it. Yeah, if a few planes fall out of the sky because it eats through the metal, the environment, progress. Come on, you're not going to say that. So why do we let these tech oligarchs tell us, hey, no, this is what you need? This trust us, just trust us.
Just trust us.
No,
No.
100% not.
No, they're drawing us in with cat videos. That's how that works.
Oh my God, you're so right. That's awful.
It's just as long as we keep getting fed, as long as we keep getting that dopamine hit every time we scroll down, then they're winning.
Well, and
I hate to put it in those terms. Larissa, this is where I started in this live chat today, talking about how we need to shut down the internet. That's the
for sure.
Bob the Luddite.
Oh yeah, for sure. No. I want to go back to mimeograph machines. Let's all have our, zines on.
Yes. And they smelled awesome.
Smells so good. It's just
smell
like
that
freedom.
paper.
The smell of freedom of the press. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, in regard to the internet, and it was interesting you said they're still winning, because this artist I love, she's a friend of mine, Jane Dixon, she paints scenes in Las Vegas a lot. And she noticed that the sort of even the infrastructure and the design of social media mimics that of Las Vegas. It's the bright colors, it's the spin, it's the swipe, it's the will you get lucky this time. And so it's the exact kind of addict producing behavior that Las Vegas, revolutionized. And who wins? The house always wins. The tech oligarchs always wins. It's not us. And what do we regulate? We regulate gambling as well. So stop, it's like, come on, we can regulate this with, the consent of the people, which I think most people want some sort of regulation of the internet, because it's becoming so corrosive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's one thing that's interesting now is since we've allowed which I never thought I'd see, is online sports betting. With DraftKings, MGM, all that other stuff. The addiction rates of gambling are on the rise among Gen Z men.
Yeah.
Right. And it usually starts out with, it's like, oh, it's a simple bet here, it's a simple bet there. And they're estimating that, like, a demographic that can least afford to lose money are losing thousands of dollars every year on average. Like, I think it's like 4 or 5,000. Because again, it's like you hit a parlay or you hit this, and it's like, oh yeah, it's like, all right, bubble, and so how again the house eventually wins.
Yeah.
And part of that is they've made it the push of a button, or you could bet on a pitch, or you can bet on anything, and which would have been unthinkable like 40 years ago. Like, like it's. I mean, my God, they made God, what was the one with Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans, The Last Boy Scout, which that movie was entirely about them trying to legalize sports gambling in California, right? And it was, because it's highly illegal. And now it's just like, I guess Joe Hallenbeck wouldn't have needed to kill all those people because it's just in your phone. It's right there.
That's a great point, and segues directly with what we were talking about with regard to income inequality and how, for example, the middle class is getting screwed by the oligarchs and so forth. Is the whole issue of legalized gambling, and also the rise of these multi-billion-dollar lotteries, where basically what we're talking about here is not just simple gaming, buying the dream of winning big. It's actually a regressive tax because it transfers the burden of financing state programs like education and roads, infrastructure, things like that, from the wealthy people who can afford it to the middle and working class who can't afford it. And now these are the platforms that are being used to finance, state spending or what have you. So that's something that I think a lot of the people who support that kind of thing don't understand, that they're actually being screwed. Where it used to be, well, we're doing these things because we're not brave enough to raise taxes on the super wealthy. We're not brave enough to raise taxes on the oligarchy because they, of course, finance campaigns. They have significant lobbying power. They control our politics. And so instead of taxing those people, instead we're taxing the working and middle class, not just through tax policy, which is becoming more and more regressive by the day, but through gambling and the lottery.
Mhm.
It's amazing. And it's not something that gets a whole lot of conversation and probably should.
Absolutely. I mean, I just think that if you can't base a noir book around a certain form of gambling, that form of gambling should not be legal. So, you like online sports betting, you can't make a good plot out of that. And I think that's
Yeah.
just a really easy rule of thumb that legislatures could follow if they needed some advice on that. But on a serious note, yes, absolutely. Going back to this conspiracy theory, it's bizarre to me how like a movie we're almost living in, that the policies that are being enacted are and supported by the people who will be harmed from them most are basically creating the conditions to return the middle of America, particularly, to the industrial age. And, you even hear about the rollback of child labor laws and MAGA, supporting and cheering that on. And I think this, I often think about, well, what is actually the solution? Because a lot of people are like, oh, MSNBC is the antidote to Fox News, for instance. We need our own propaganda channel. Well, that obviously didn't work. And the antidote to Fox News and all the other misinformation is there is a vibrant and well-funded public school system, which again, our tax dollars are not going towards, and that they're supporting the oligarchy, and this only funnels, more and more money away from our capacity to support democracy. So yeah, it's a clusterfuck to put it succinctly, I think.
I hate to say it, like as soon as you said plot for a noir book,
Yeah.
like the only thing that was playing in my head was like she came into my office looking at her phone. She barely said two words to me. Her boyfriend had spent his entire paycheck that they needed for the rent on the parlay on MGM. It's
Then
like,
she ghosted me on WhatsApp.
No one wants to read that. No one
no,
wants to
God
read that
no.
or watch that. Yeah.
You can't even, it's like she had something to hide, like a K Street lawyer in the Epstein files. like, you just, I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like she asked if she could airdrop me the evidence she had on her boyfriend cheating on her. It's like, no.
No. Got to go back to the mimeograph machine, film, get rid of the
Physical media.
absolute.
Yeah.
That's it. Let's bring back Tower Records. Let's bring back standing in line.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yep. And that
I'm
was one of
telling
the
you.
it was one of the most disturbing metaphors I've heard in a while, just in the world of entertainment, is that late night television. This is came up around the cancellation of Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Is that late night television is shit. It's like the Blockbuster kiosk inside a Tower Records, which
Ooh.
is just terrifying for those of us who grew up with one form of media, and everything is now rapidly changing. It's just very sad to me.
Don't you do that to me. Don't you
Yeah.
put that evil on me, Bobby Seska. Don't you do it. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately. It's just,
Yeah.
and it's look, every era changes, and you have all these, these different things that I that we'll sort out. But The hard part is there's no guarantee that we're heading towards a better future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we all assume, right? It's like, oh yeah, tomorrow's going to be brighter, tomorrow's going to be better. It's like, well, yeah, if you zoom out on the timeline, it's gotten better, but boy, there's some dips in there, like
Yeah.
1861 to
For
1865.
instance.
Yeah.
But I mean, in all seriousness, I think a lot about activism and change making, but also I'm a storyteller. I'm also a writer.
Mhm.
And what algorithms do, what the sort of social media that we interact with on the internet and so on and so forth does, is that it limits the number of plot points and narrative elements that we have, and controls the way that our story can turn out and the directions we can move. And there's a lack of spontaneity and really magic and wonder on the internet and on social media. And if we are to change the story and to have a brighter future and to have a happy ending, we have to reincorporate conversation and interaction and the chance for possibility into our lives. And I just see so many people again like surrendering that.
Yeah.
The amount of time people spend on screens, the amount of time children spend on screens, the amount that we just absolutely surrender our consciousness to whatever the algorithm wants us to sort of interact with is shocking. And I think if we are to talk about like the basis of democracy, which is the power of the people, we do have to have a conversation about our capacity to talk to each other and how that's
Yeah.
inhibited by these unregulated screen addictions. So I know that's kind of like far afield from
No,
our
not really.
topic.
No,
But
it's really as I keep saying, it's this is all the centerpiece. The word algorithm is at the centerpiece of so much of our trouble right now, so much of the danger that we face as a society. And one of the worst influences, I'm not going to win any friends by saying this, but one of the worst influences right now is that guy, Mr. Beast,
yeah,
who
who's
he did a
such an
game
asshole,
show.
BTW.
Yeah, he's like a YouTube celebrity. He started out, and this is how he made his millions. He started out by not by creating content that he thought was good and had value and was based on integrity and creativity. He started out simply just gaming the YouTube algorithm. He figured out the YouTube algorithm, gamed that algorithm. He got like one of his first big viral videos was simply him counting to 100,000, and it's got, I don't know, 10 million views, something obscene. And he's been able to parlay that into an enormous amount of wealth, an enormous career, to the point where I guess he had a network game show, something like that, where he was paying people to turn on each other, which is in and of
Amazon.
itself. Yeah. What's that?
It was with Amazon.
Oh,
Yep.
Amazon. Yes, yes. And so what a terrible example to set. It doesn't matter what what you're contributing, as long as you're gaming the algorithm. That in and of itself is its own form of success, its own reward,
Mm-hmm.
which I find completely obscene. I think that content should be based on creative integrity and something valuable contributing to society, whether it's comedy or a serious dramatic storytelling, a narrative, or analysis of what's going on in the world. These are things that I think we should be applying more value to and more attention to. But instead, it's whoever's gaming the algorithm the best or most effectively, that becomes the successful thing to do. And if the past is any prologue, what we know is that when people hear about that, certainly young people, they begin to aspire to that. And then that creates a whole generation of people who aren't creating anything of value, who are just gaming the algorithm. And I find that to be inherently dangerous to society.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's beneficial.
Mm.
Because as someone who's on the online space, who's started a YouTube channel and work with digital creators, I understand like what they call now vibe marketing. Back then, when I worked in digital, was called virality, right? So you were always
Yeah.
interested in virality and how to go viral.
Hmm.
And it absolutely is. You don't think about the consequence of what you're putting out, right? It's simply to go bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you see that with like Steve Bannon. You see that with that was Andrew Tate's strategy, and that's how he got so big. Whereas he specifically curated and made videos that he knew other people would clip, and he allowed them to clip it, and that grew his brand
Mm-hmm.
because you had all these other content creators that would share some outrageous take he would say,
Hmm.
and that was it. And that's how he got so big. And you look at that's what Trump does. That's
Yeah.
what that you see it. You see it in our politics when you see, God, what's his name from Ohio, Jordan.
Jim Jordan.
Jim
Yeah,
Jordan.
Jim Jordan.
Yeah.
Or when you see Ted Cruz or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. These people they're not advocating a policy. They're not doing the work of legislation. They're doing sound bites.
Yeah.
They're doing things they know will go viral, where they're just kind of like, ranting at someone sitting on a table, and it's like, oh, look at him give it to those Democrats. Oh, look at that. And he's not,
Hmm.
if you look at the context, that's absolutely not what they're doing, right? It's just and the guy who pioneered this was Newt Gingrich,
Mm-hmm.
because C-SPAN used to have a camera when it started. It was over the well, like in the house, and Newt would go and go on barn buster rants, right, against the left and this and that and blah blah blah, and everyone's like, oh, look at him, oh, he's giving it to. There's nobody there.
Mm-hmm. Literally, yeah.
There's no one there, and that's the danger, is because it's not only misinformation or disinformation, it's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a freaking lie. It doesn't do anything to help. Like, Ted Cruz is not interested in helping our country. Jim Jordan isn't interested in getting better legislation for the people of Ohio. Even if something he passionately agrees in, he doesn't care.
Yeah. It's funny you're bringing this up too, Fred, because it was 20 years ago. George Carlin was talking about how our political leadership tries to divide us, and the wealthy elite try to divide us to keep us bickering among ourselves so they can get away with murder.
Mm-hmm.
But now, you know what? We're kind of doing that to ourselves
Mhm.
through this gaming of the algorithm, saying
Absolutely.
things that deliberately get attention for the sake of getting attention, not to
Yep.
add value to the conversation, but to
Nope.
just to get rage clicking, to rage baiting, clickbait, etc. That becomes the end game, and that keeps us divided. That keeps us fighting amongst ourselves. And it's funny that mission, that level of divisiveness has transferred from, and it's still happening among the political elites and the wealthy, but we're doing it to ourselves now. We're responsible for a significant portion of that at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, but it goes back to this idea of addiction. And then I got to go feed my kids lunch. But,
Yeah.
we Americans, okay, I don't care. Corporations have basically addicted Americans to all kinds of things, whether that's prescription drugs or fast food or your phone or rage baiting, right? And so what happens when you're addicted? And I say this as a former smoker, right? Like, I would smoke a pack and a half a day for 20 years. If I didn't have my fix, I could not think straight. I was angry. I was frustrated. I couldn't regulate my mood. And now almost all of America, has one addiction or another. And so
Mhm.
we're all addicts of something now. And that really inhibits our capacity to form communities and also to know ourselves and be ourselves and articulate the things that we want. And I think, just as you were saying, if we are, the democracy is power of the people. And I know that it is so problematic to say that America is about individualism and that it's about individual responsibility. But there is power in that when we can step back and say, what am I addicted to? What control am I ceding to corporations, to the larger powers that I could take back and then in so doing, better express my will, the will of the people collectively, to better our country. And yeah, that is the number one thing that all of these devices are trying to absolutely stop us from doing.
Yep.
But that we can combat every day, every moment, minute to minute. So with that, I'm going to go feed my children processed hot dogs and veggie straws.
Well, before you go, I
Yes.
just want to tell you what I'm addicted to.
Okay.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there's my
Same.
rage bait. There's my little.
I'm gonna go too. I'm gonna go and feed
All right,
myself. Yes.
guys. I thank you so much for showing up. Is like, please tell our audience where we can find you. Larissa, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Substack at the Female Body Politic. I, look at 250 years of women's participation in American democracy, as well as analyzing contemporary news from a feminist perspective. That's my book, First to the Front. My next book, Winning the Earthquake, the biography of Jeanette Rankin, America's first Congresswoman, comes out on November 4th, Election Day. Please, she is an American pioneer. She campaigned for ranked choice voting, multiple member congressional districts, and abolishing the Electoral College in 1916. She is a voice we need to hear today. So please check that out. And thank you so much for having me.
That
Thank
was
you,
great
Larissa.
talking to you, Larissa. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bob, where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere you get your podcasts, Bob Cesca Show, also on Patreon, patreon.com/Bob Cesca Show, also on Substack, substack.com/Bob Cesca Show. I think that's it, or bobcescashow.substack.com.
100%. And you also write for the Daily Banter.
Yes, thebanter.substack.com. So you can subscribe there too. Yes.
Bob, my friend, thank you so much for showing up. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
Comedy
it.
Fred. Well,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Good luck on the
Thanks,
rest of the
man.
stream. Take care.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good one, brother. There we go. All right. It's just me. I think I'm going to bring in Nick Paro, and maybe Lawrence Winnerman if I know they're around. So we're going to bring them all back in. And that's how we're going to do it today. We're going to be just bringing people in, and trying.
Yeah, I'm here.
That's how we're going to do it today.
But what we're gonna do first,
We're going to be
sir,
bringing people in,
it's Paro.
Paro. Okay.
I gotta correct you.
No, it's fine.
Oh
I mean,
shit. Oh, I
I
gotta make myself mute in the
I
background.
don't think I've
Sorry.
ever asked. I think I
You've
just
never
said,
asked and I've never said.
yeah,
So and you've never said it wrong. You always have said it Paro. I think that was one of the first times you said Paro.
Paro.
Um,
Oh, okay. Did I
so
say
I've never
Paro?
corrected you.
Oh,
Welcome,
okay.
welcome back, brothers. Welcome, brothers.
Welcome back,
I
Fred.
have no
Frederick.
idea why my stream is just like,
Oh, he's doing
it's
the flip flop thing.
Oh
no,
yeah.
it's lagging all to hell. Is it lagging on your guys' end?
Uh,
No.
no, no, it
No,
Oh,
looks
it's
good,
great.
doing all right on mine.
man.
Oh,
You
good, because
crushed
it's
it with those two for the
Gosh,
last
thank.
that
like
was
Oh,
hour
they're
and a half.
great
so
guests.
good.
Crushed it.
They are great.
Yeah,
Bob is. They're both pros, man. They're so good.
if people in the chat have not and the live have not subscribed to Larissa or Bob, gee, wow, go do so. That was incredible, Fred. I listened to the whole thing while I was on, obviously I was in the chat. Um, if you notice, also we have Banner and Backbone in the chat, which is, by the way, that's me. In case you need to know who is the freedom monster behind the scene, giving out the links and reminding you it's a 80% off sale right now. To become a paid subscriber, all profits from this are going to go towards Epstein victim litigations or to pro democracy efforts like the um, Allison Gill effort to get the FOIA documents released and everything that's going on. So please give Banner and Backbone a subscribe and become a paid subscriber.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the
just a
only
quick check-in. We've got 114 subscribers overall so far, which is
hell yeah,
incredible, and 11 paid subscribers. Thank you to everybody who
amazing.
has signed up so quickly. This is amazing.
And I want to give a special shout out to Nick and Lawrence. I mean, I jokingly kind of say I'm the talent, but like when it comes to the tech stuff, I'm not. I know a little bit here and there about production, but these guys have been the driving force of making this thing a reality, making this thing real for us. So thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you so much, Nick. You guys are awesome. I get to sit back and just blather, which is I love that.
Which is fantastic because you're good at it. You're good at
Right.
blathering, but
We
Well,
all
I'm
bring
blathering
not
is
all
good
of
at
what we
our
I'm not
need.
good
talents.
at tech. I'm
But
lucky I can type with all all my fingers.
If
here's
you
And
what's
notice,
great
Fred, I
is
didn't
that
say anything about the tech to you.
we're all
I let
bringing
you go.
our strengths together.
that's
All
it.
of us are good on a microphone, and between the three of us, we pretty much got the bases covered, which is amazing.
Right. And again, that's why we're breaking it up like this. It's to show you guys you don't have to do everything. I know a lot of times you can get overwhelmed. You think, man, like what can I do? There's so many things. As Bob pointed out, you're confronted with thousands of things or hundreds of things about that's going wrong in the world, going wrong in your country, going wrong in your state or your community, and you're like, what can I do? You don't, and you because you can't carry it all. You don't need to carry it all. I'm 48 years old. I can't do 24 hours anymore. It would hurt way too much. That's why I got two awesome partners. And that's what Banner and Backbone is all about. We're going to
Hmm.
bring in other great essayists like Melissa Corrigan, with Shane. We're going to bring in a lot of awesome people because democracy is a team sport. It's a team
Yes.
sport. Individually, you can contribute here and there, and there's different ways that you can do that. It doesn't have to be with marching and protesting in the street. It could be helping organize to watch kids for people that want to go to a political meeting that can't afford a sitter. It could be picking somebody up to take them to a political meeting. It could be, volunteering at, an event, a community event, offering to cook. It could be like these two guys who have awesome technical expertise that help bring this. I couldn't do this by myself. I could not do Banner and Backbone by myself.
No. And none of
You,
us could.
every single one of you, I guarantee you has a talent. You can use that to help take back our democracy, and that's what we're here to do. You know, and we're almost at the top of the hour, which that's a reminder of we need to release the Epstein files because that's why we're here.
Yep.
You know,
Release the files. What the hell? Like, it's easy, Don. Just do it, Don. You can do it, Don. You're the president, Don. Isn't it your
Don't you
job to
know how to
release
release
these
the files,
files,
Don?
Don? Isn't that auto pen working, Don? Can't you just sign away the Epstein files and tell Pam Bondi to do it? Don, come on, Don. It's fucking time, Don. Go fuck yourself, Don.
I got a pen right here if he needs one. I'll
Right,
mail it
right.
to
He
him.
got that
Yeah.
big old fucking Sharpie. He likes to put it on big stupid signs anyway. So guess what, Don? Use your damn Sharpie and
It's so
fucking release
easy.
the
So
Epstein
easy. Even Donald
files.
Trump could do it.
It's so small. The pen
Did here's the crazy thing. Did you ever think
is mightier than the sword, too.
do you ever think we would be leftist radicals because we
No.
say, I think raping underage girls should be a crime.
Bro,
Oh,
for
and let's
real.
be more inclusive here. I think raping any underage child, any child,
Oh yeah.
is despicable and gross.
Rape
Girls,
is wrong.
boys,
All rape is
rape,
wrong.
all rape is wrong, but we're specifically talking about rape of minors right now.
Apparently
And
I'm a far
that,
left
yeah,
radical for saying
when
Yeah.
that.
did that become a radical point of view? Like, I thought I was just a normal human being. Isn't that just like common moral society? Like, to not rape underage people, like not rape in general, but definitely not rape children. Like
And again, this is
they kill
for
those people in prisons, and now we have a president who allegedly is one.
Yeah.
And this, in case any MAGA happened to stumble upon this and happened to see this, it gets clipped. I want to ask you this question: is like, when did that become such a radical notion? When did that become? How is that not in your wheelhouse? How is that not a mutually agreed upon thing as a society that we all say, hey, we can disagree on policy, but on
Right.
this here, we
Hmm.
should all be in agreement. And if
Right.
Hey,
you're
Lawrence,
not,
can you show us that shirt that you're wearing? Because I think it fits in with what we're talking about.
Fuck the piece of shit POTUS. Yes, available
Who's
on Alpaca Lunch. Yeah,
fuck the
Dana
pedo
jumped in,
POTUS?
and Dana said, I tuned back in to hear raping underage girls would be a crime. All girls are underage. Yeah, don't fuck kids ever, and also don't rape anyone. Words matter. Let's be really clear.
Yeah.
Pedophilia is fucking gross. Don't
Yep.
ever rape anybody ever.
Yep.
No child should ever experience any kind of sex crime like what we're talking about.
Ever.
Like,
yep,
let's be super crisp and clear. And you're right, Frederick. Like, when did this change? I'm 55. I grew up in this country. I'm fairly well informed. For my entire life, all of these things have been mutually agreed, right? Like
right.
civilized
Yeah.
society agreed on the on you know
I
we disagree about some things, but the big things we agree about are don't fucking molest children, don't rape people.
I can't remember who the case was. It's a famous kind of, it happened in the 80s. And, it's before they had all the 9/11 security airports and everything else. And so they caught a guy who molested a child, right? And so the marshals or stuff, they're bringing him back to the airport. You can look this up online. And the dad of that, it was a boy, I think, was waiting at the airport, had a hat and a gun. And when they brought him through the terminal, he turned and boom, blew the guy's head off, right? I just shot him. Dead, stone cold dead right there, you know. And the guy was a hero to the nation, right? Why did that change?
yeah.
Right.
Why did
Or
that change?
yeah.
I need
When
MAGA.
did
I
this
need you to tell
become?
me, MAGA. I need you to tell me, why did that change? Why do you not suddenly want to know about the Epstein files? Because I'm with you. I'm with you. I've come around to see. I'm coming around to you, buddy.
Hmm.
You might
We're
you might
with
level
y'all
it
on
to
this
me.
one. Epstein
Yeah.
files need to come out, all of them. We're with y'all.
You want to throw that to me? It's like, well, what if Bill Clinton's in there? Charge him.
For real.
Fucking charge them.
Anyone who is
What if
in
Obama's in
Epstein
there? Charge
files,
him.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
I
would
don't care
suck.
who it is.
Like whoever it is, the thing is we don't idolize politicians on the
No.
left. And that's one kind of a problem for like fighting populism is we don't idolize people because we're willing to say, hey, guess what? If he's in the files or she's in the files or they're in the files, fuck them. Just fuck them. It's gross. Guess what? Pedophiles get killed in prison.
Mhm.
Like, when did we when did we fall back to a point where now we're defending in Utah, we're changing laws that make it so raping a minor who is 13 is not a felony? They're changing the laws because one of the like state senator's brother or something got caught raping a 13-year-old, so they changed the age from 14 to 13 so it wasn't a felony. Like, that's fucked up. The Trump administration is suing to have the law that requires churches to report child sex abuse overturned.
Yep.
If that doesn't enrage you, when did that become acceptable? We
Right.
made those laws for a reason and they worked. Guess what? When we started, and I'll bring this to the military because I'm a veteran, I was on Joint Base Lewis McChord when they started checking trunks, when they changed the policy to get on base because they found a 16-year-old in some sergeant major's room. A child, that's a child. If you
Yep.
are legally in the United States, if you are under the age of 18, you are considered a child.
Mhm.
It should be probably a little higher. realistically, because children, you really haven't finished developing at that point, but we won't get into that part of it. 18 right now is the legal cutoff age, and that's gross. Like, I'm 35. If you're looking at 18-year-olds, you're fucking gross.
Right.
And when they changed the policy on army bases to check trunks, to have the MPs stop random vehicles, not every vehicle, but random vehicles to check trunks, the rate of trafficking onto bases dropped significantly. It's all about enforcement, because right now, Shane and I have talked about this. Shane Urich, over on the Firebrand project, we've talked about this, about techno-fascism in general. Is there is no pushback. There's nobody has said no to them and meant it. Like, they've heard the word no in their life, but they always find a way around it. They just
Yep.
go around no, and they find excuses. It's like those little kids who hear no and then they go, why, why, why,
Yeah.
why, until you finally say, okay, yes. They never heard no where somebody just put their foot down and said no. And here's a punishment for when you cross that line. They need to be punished legally to the fullest extent of the law. And if the law is not strong enough to punish them for what their crimes are, we need to make one stronger.
Right.
And I don't typically believe in the death penalty, but there is a penalty for treason,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
that is death by firing squad. I'm sorry, but if you're a pedophile destroying our country, covering up a international sex ring and trafficking ring and corruption ring, you're a treasonous person. You are committing treasonous acts against the United States of America, because you are undermining, and you are anti constitutional, and you are destroying law in order to do it. You are hiding the Epstein files. And guess what? You're a traitor. You're a fucking traitor at this point. If you're not willing to release the Epstein files, you're a traitor. I hope Donald Trump's name replaces Benedict Arnold as the biggest traitor in America's history.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And can I just point out in the chat, we've got some people being vulnerable and sharing stories here about their own experiences, myself included. I was sexually assaulted when I was 8 years old. It absolutely changed the course of my life. We
Yep.
need to absolutely, as a part of this, recenter the victims that we are talking about here, the victims of Epstein and probably Trump, of which there are probably thousands, thousands and thousands of girls, and not just girls, because boys get raped too,
Yep.
and it is
Hmm.
this is a thing that, to Fred's point, to Nick's point, every American should be unified around this, because it is protecting children, for God's sake, and it is punishing people who would use children for their own perverse sexual or power, whatever it is. And fuck that, pedophilia should be illegal across
Yep.
the board. Like,
Yeah,
it is illegal in many, but
not
this
even
should not be a
illegal.
thing that we are making an exception for.
It
Like,
should be morally reprehensible, and you should be shamed out of common society for
right, out of the
doing it.
village, right? Like, if
Shamed.
you fucking
Shamed
touch
until
a
you
kid,
leave.
you're out of the village. Like, you're gone. Nobody talks to you. You're done. Like, we
I
talk about cancel culture. That should get you
Cancel
really
them.
fucking canceled.
Yeah, we can
I
cancel pedophilia, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
so I was 5 when I was molested at daycare. I wrote about it. It's on Missives. It's I think it's like my second or third article. Unfortunately, you'll have to dig back through it to find it now, because the way Substack is. But I wrote about that experience, and I wrote about how it changed me. It made me hypersexual that I didn't understand when I was in my 20s. Um, it it I didn't trust adults. My Because my molester was a woman, you know, at a daycare that I was at, and it is something that I've had complex PTSD from it, because it was at such a young age, and I didn't know, and it was multiple times, and it absolutely it messes you up for life.
For life.
And
Yeah,
it's one of the reasons that
it's
I had a
so
hard time
destructive.
forming attachments and intimacy. It took decades to get over it. There were anger issues. I had PTSD from it, where I didn't like to be. I there's a lot of stuff in there. So this is not just this is a this the thing that infuriates me about this is a sickness. This is harm. This is damage that is being legitimized by the worst kind of people, and it needs to
Mhm.
stop.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I'm going to shift the topic just a little, but we're going to keep on all of this
Yeah.
because it's around what we're talking about. Somebody pointed out, Roger in the chat, thank you for pushing back. This is why we have this community, is so that people understand and we respond to you guys in real time about like questions and things that you have. Roger, you said treason is defined in the Constitution and no one, not even Trump, meets the Article 3 judicial branch, Section 3 definition of treason. I would I would say you are wrong in this case, and I will defend my point first by reading Article 3 Judicial Branch, Section 3 treason, and what Clause 1 meaning is, and how I believe Trump is treasonous in his acts. I am not saying he is a traitor. I'm saying he is treasonous in his acts because treason requires conviction. Becoming a traitor requires conviction and punishment. I believe he is treasonous in his acts and that these acts undermine and are anti-constitutional, and he can be convicted of treason for them. So let's read. Let's do a little knowledge drop because that's what we're here for, right, y'all? So, Clause 1 meaning. Section 3 treason. Clause 1 meaning. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. So, let's talk about that. One, he is not levying war against the United States at the moment. That can be proven. We could argue that he might be, because taking apart the foundations of our agricultural systems and food security is an act of war and
Yep.
national security interest. Selling off farmland around bases to
To China.
Chinese companies is possibly aiding and abetting a enemy of the United States. China is listed as an enemy of the United States. We consider them a frenemy. We do trade with them a lot, but they are not our ally. Russia, in protecting Putin and allowing a war criminal to step on our soil unmolested and not arrested and put into the vehicle with the President of the United States alone, is aiding and abetting a foreign dictator and enemy of the United States. Fight me. Fight me.
I'll do one
I ain't
better.
gonna fight you. I agree.
I'll do one better.
Raping
You-
children and then hiding it is treason because you are aiding and abetting a criminal organization which is anti constitutional. You cannot be an active criminal who is undermining the constitutional order and lie in your oath that you would faithfully uphold and execute the office of the President of the United States of America. He lied, took his hand off the Bible to say the oath. No
I'll,
president in history has not sworn on either a Bible or some sort of document such as the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and he lied. He is a traitor and he is treasonous for his acts.
I'll do you one better.
Go for it, brother.
Let's say I'm I'm in the intelligence part of apparatus of America, right? I take some documents I take them. I'm leaving my job and I take them, right? And I leave them. I take them to my house and they're unsecured. And I have people over at my house from all over, right? Foreign nationals. Okay. They come in and one of them, let's just say unbeknownst to my knowledge, takes one of those documents and makes us compromise the security down the line for the United States of America. Did I commit espionage? According to the Espionage Act, I did.
Right.
I'll even do one better because we sent nuclear submarines out towards Russia.
According to the Espionage Act, yeah.
What happens if you say, as a, let's say, I, as a prior U.S. Army soldier who was a sergeant in the U.S. Army, trained in the intelligence field doing human intelligence collection, I'm under an NDA and I can't talk about any of the documents that I ever read, wrote, touched. I can't talk about half my job, more than half my job, because I would go to prison for it. I wouldn't go to normal prison. I would go to Leavenworth, which is the army prison for convicted traitors or people who are doing Espionage Act related things. So I fucking hate everything about this because guess what? Donald Trump stole during the allegedly, and actually not allegedly, he stole because we have the evidence showing that he did. He
Right.
He
took
did.
documents relating to the nuclear submarines and their capabilities, and they have never been recovered. And
And
now
he
we have
showed
two
them to a
nuclear submarines in waters outside of Russia, and the Russian president coming onto US soil where, oh, guess what? Alaska is traditionally Russian territory in the Russian Empire, which Putin would like to reform. And Trump recently called it part of Russia because he's a fucking demented idiot. Do
Idiot.
you think he would defend the United States if we were attacked and Russia tried to seize that territory? That is treason. That is traitorous. I will not be silent on that.
well,
You
and
are wrong, Roger. I am sorry. Thank you for the comment. And I hope you are still with us because it's important that we push back and we understand why.
he
Do you know
showed
what the
them.
punishment of treason is? The
Yeah,
punishment. The Congress shall have the power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attained, which means the person who committed treason forfeits their life.
well,
And
And
also
it's an
the
act of Congress to make it happen. Which means we need to vote these fuckers out because guess what? He cannot be convicted of treason unless there are people in power who are willing to convict him of treason.
he showed intelligence documents to an Australian billionaire, and the only reason we know that is because the guy said it happened.
right.
We don't know who's seen these documents. We don't know. And here's the thing you can do. All you got to do is go look. So at the CIA memorial, right? When one of our agents in CIA goes down the line, they put a star up there. They don't put their name. They put a star. Some of the biggest, the most stars that were put up on that memorial were during his first term.
Mhm.
There were Putin put out bounties on our servicemen and women in Afghanistan during his first term.
And he
He
didn't
didn't
do
do anything.
anything.
Didn't do anything.
He let the man onto US soil
Right.
who killed our service members, who killed my brothers and sisters and others, killed our service members. We don't leave people behind in the US Army. We went out and got back Bo Bergdahl, of all fucking people, who got friends of mine killed,
Yep.
got people I knew killed. We brought him back. And then Donald Trump fucking basically set his ass free with no punishment. He
Hmm.
let the man go.
Hmm.
He pardoned war criminals
Hmm.
from our army who were war criminals, or from our navy, from our armed services who were war criminals, who did things that were illegal that we decided were wrong. We have to remember laws are our responsibility. It's our duty as a citizen to enforce those laws. That's why we are the bench of a jury in a trial, because
Yep.
citizens enforce the law. And if the law is not strong enough or being enforced the way we want it to, we rise up and reinforce the law in the citizens' way. And that is voting these fuckers out and running for seats, running for everything.
Why is it that Nick is held to a higher standard than the president of the United States when it
Right.
comes to documents, when it comes to what he can say and what he can't say? Is that what we want for our
No.
country? Is that where
Is that the
so should
example
the
you want your boys as a dad with a son and a daughter, as a dad with a son? Is this the example we want to set for our boys? That it's okay to rape people?
yeah.
That
That's
it's
why we're here.
okay
That's why we're here
to
today
rape
because
children and hide it? That it's okay to become a pastor and use that position of power to abuse and rape minors? That's what we're telling our sons. That's not what I want to tell my son. That's not what I tell my son. That's not what we tell our sons. But we need to start telling it louder. And part of this is we're creating a manosphere that isn't misogynistic, that isn't based around rape and pedophilia and disgusting, disgusting behavior. If you're sick of it, fucking join us. Thank
yeah.
you. You guys are here. I say you guys, y'all are fucking here right now, and it's amazing.
And the
Thank
thing
you.
is, it's I don't have children. I'm not married, but I don't want to live in a society that allows this.
Mhm.
I don't want to. I do not want to follow leaders that allow this or do this. That's not what the country that I want to live in. That is not a culture that I want to subscribe to. That is not a that is not acceptable. Period. And if that's the way it is, we freaking change it because it's unacceptable. As in the military, it's unsatisfactory, it's anti-constitutional, it's anti-American, it's anti-human. No.
Do you know how we fight back? Somebody put it in the comments. Carrie, you put it in the comments and I looked it up too. Is Jim Jordan is now facing a deposition about the OSU sex abuse scandal.
Good.
That is how Americans stand up to pedophilia.
Good.
That is how you as a citizen stand up to pedophilia, because if you live in Ohio and you get a notice that says you may be on you're on a jury selection, your civic duty is to respond and go, yep, I want to fucking serve. Yep, I'm going to go on that jury. Because guess what? If you live in the area that Jim Jordan was just deposed in, you may end up being on a sex trial that he is on for rape and a sex abuse of the wrestling team and men and boys at OSU. And it's disgusting. And he deserves the punishment that he will get for it. And you
Mhm.
know how you give him that punishment is citizens together on a jury say no. And you dish out the harshest sentence that you know is possible for that crime,
Mhm.
because that
That's
is
it.
our duty, is to punish and let them know that it's not okay. Because if you start punishing these people, they'll fucking stop. Just like my example earlier, when the US Army started checking trunks for minors who were being trafficked onto bases, when they started randomly checking trucks and trunks, the rate of trafficking dropped significantly, like to almost zero.
Mhm.
Because enforcement works.
It does.
Punishments work if we decide they work. And that's what it takes as to be an American, to be civically minded, is to be engaged, to know the laws, to know the rules, to understand what your powers are as a citizen. And right now, that's just one power we're all acting right now as we're together. We're talking about this. We had folks like Roger ask a question. We have Carrie giving out examples. We have people in the chat talking about their experiences. That's what's that's what brings us back together. Somebody asked, how do we win over MAGA? How do we start winning these people over? This. Exactly this. We do this. We come together and we talk because they're gonna find their way in here. I don't
Yeah,
expect anything. I'm not asking anything. I'm not even talking about MAGA. I don't care about MAGA as an organization or as a political group. They're my neighbors. They're people. They're Americans. I care about Americans. I care that Americans rise up and restore integrity, service, and ethics in this country.
100%.
Gotta
100%.
plug that slogan. We're
No, it's
sick.
it's
We're
it's what we're.
sick of the eagle jizz.
Yeah, we are sick of the eagle jizz.
The eagle jizz.
Can you talk about that, Fred? Because I just brought that up. It's grown on me, and we got to talk about the eagle jizz.
So eagle jizz, was a lovely phrase that I unfortunately cooked up when we were on a phone call about Banner and Backbone, and it just hit me, and I said, what I'm sick of is like I said I'm sick of all the eagle jizz. I'm sick of all the fake patriotism and all. I'm sick of all the, Speedo, the flag, American flag Speedos. I'm sick of all the different American flags that are, got the thin blue line and the thin red line. It's like, no, man, there's an American flag. And that's it.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
understand, like, I'll even say this technically, to be inclusive of all of our friends who are in the audience, and I'm bi, and I understand where the gay flag came from. But if you want to look at flag code, that is considered on the same lines as a desecration. Do
Right.
I get mad at that? No.
no,
Do I get mad at the gay pride flag? No. And you want to know why? Because gay people aren't out here trying to take everybody fucking rights away. They
right.
want to just be normal and live. They just want to exist. They just want to fit in without us demanding
Well,
that
hang
they
on
have to
now.
prove
The
their
gay flag
existence to
isn't a
us.
desecration of the American flag. Just because the
That's why,
flag's got stripes on it doesn't mean it's a desecration of the American flag.
see,
No,
that's why I said, that's why I turned it to what it was, is because in flag code, it would be considered technically, because it's an
Not the gay
alteration of the
flag. The gay
US
flag was
flag, yada,
created
yada, yada,
by.
yada.
Gay flag is not a desecration of the American flag in any way.
Hey,
Amateur
prove me wrong, and
vexillologists.
I'm happy about that. I love it. No, you're proving me wrong, and I'm happy about it because I don't
I
want our flags to be desecrations. It's
well,
just
it's
like
I
the thin
it's
blue line flag isn't a desecration; it's an alteration. But in the end, what the meaning behind it is the desecration. The gay
correct.
flag, the gay pride flag, isn't ever going to be a desecration of the American flag because they're not hateful. They don't
Like
hate
you
And
want to
it's
America.
not
fly?
based on the American flag, is my
It's
point.
not, dude.
The gay
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
flag
it's
is
not.
not an
yeah.
iteration of the American
It's
flag, and
not.
so
It's
it
its own
doesn't fall
flag.
under any
It's
version of
Yeah,
like
the
the
that's
flag
PO.
true.
code.
It's like the POW MIA stuff, right? It's not.
That's true.
Yeah.
Lawrence, I apologize. I misspoke,
I,
brother.
hey man, it's just that I'm a vexillologist, and so I take this seriously.
No,
Like
brother. Flags are flags,
it's
my
just a
brother.
different flag.
Yeah.
Here's
If
the
for
thing.
those who don't know, vexillology is the study of flags. I do know that because I used to watch Big Bang Theory and they talk about
I actually didn't know
vexillology.
that.
And so I knew that only from Big Bang Theory. So thank you, Lawrence, for that drop of knowledge.
I
And
actually didn't
and
know
true,
that.
so I
So
apologize for that statement. It's not a desecration, and I take
no,
those words back.
that's okay. I
Thanks.
mean, hey, listen. This is part of discussion. This is part of where it goes. Like, look,
Right.
Yeah.
you
We
you want
want
to
to be
have you want to
corrected. I don't
fly.
want to say that wrong again. I don't want to say that because that
Like,
makes
look,
me
you want to
stupid.
fly. You want to fly the state flag. You want to fly. The Gadsden flag. Even though I
Hmm.
think today it identifies you as a fuckhead.
Right.
Like, go ahead. Like that's fine. You want to fly a policeman's flag or whatever. Fine, fly it. But when you take the American flag and you turn it black and white, you put that thin blue line on it. I know what you're saying. To
Hmm.
me, you may not think it's fascism to me.
Yeah.
You've taken the flag. Like, look, There's the American flag. You can fly whatever you want. I don't give a shit. You know, the only one I wish would go the hell away is the battle flag from the Confederacy, the stars and
Right.
bars.
You
That
mean the
shit needs to
Virginia battle
go.
flag?
Yeah,
The
get that shit
Virginia
out of.
battle flag. It ain't the full, like, that's it's just the Virginia battle flag that's
I
become the battle flag of hate. And oh, no, 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 no. I do not defend the Confederate
no,
flag.
it
I
needs to
see
go.
people with a fucking Confederate flag and I'm like, you just look dumb. Like, Star Wars has more shows and has a longer history of like
Yeah,
lifespan than the Confederacy.
right.
Like, come on, people. Y'all's history has a smaller like background themology and like canon series than the fucking Star Wars books.
But
Like,
it's
come
that. It's
on
that.
now.
It's that same bullshit. Heather Cox Richardson has written about this. I lived through it, living in the South. All it's done is keep people oppressed. It's kept us back. I mean, white people too, right? Because you've ceded your power to some freaking glory that never existed. That was based on human oppression. That's all it was. It's based on oppression, and they've used you as a tool to carry it out. So instead of joining with the people that share your interest, your commonality of interest economically, your commonality of interest civically, you've become a tool in their oppression by people who don't give a damn about you. Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about you. It still blows my mind that Southerners would let some carpet-bagging New Yorker born with a golden plated spoon up his ass to be your standard bearer. It blows me away. And how the hell you still gonna call yourself a Southern with that? That I'll never understand.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you let
you know,
a southern businessman take or a New York businessman take over, and y'all call yourselves the pride of the South.
the
Like,
weakest man there is.
the
The weak.
Yankiest of the Yankees, the
My God.
Yankiest of the Yankees. You are now just like, yep, that's our standard bearer, this
Right.
fucking trash hole. And I'm from New England. I love New York City. I'm not bagging on New York City, but Donald Trump is a trash heap. Like, everybody in New York City knows it. Everybody outside of New York City knows it. He's just an orange turd and just a piece of shit. Um, you know, that's
All
just
be,
that's
all
just how it
because
is.
all because you wanted to keep your hate. You wanted to hang on to your
Right.
hate. You
Hmm.
sacrificed your you sacrificed your freedom. You sacrificed your freaking rights. You sacrificed your culture to hang on to hate.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
That's what
claim
happened.
freedom too. Like, that's their big thing, is like they're all about freedom and bodily autonomy and, well, they used to be, or like pro-life and like small government. Remember when Republicans
Oh
used to believe
yeah.
in small government? Remember MAGA screaming about small government? Do you remember last year, or was it the year before, when the Supreme Court said we didn't have the money, or we couldn't, Joe Biden could not relieve student loan debt because it was an overreach of the executive government. And yet here we are with Donald Trump overreaching every single fucking rule in the federal government as the executive. Oh, and by the way, paying off student loan debt as a bonus to become a member of the Gestapo ICE. Like, please. Yeah, thanks. I literally got approved to have my student loan debt that I'm still paying on from when I graduated in 2012, that I'm still fucking paying on. I was on the list to have it finally forgiven. I was in the army. I went to Afghanistan. They didn't forgive it. Even when
Yeah.
I went to Afghanistan, they didn't offer to forgive it. I joined. They gave me the offer to either take loan forgiveness or be able to go to school again. So I chose to be able to go to school again because I wanted to learn more and it allowed me to have a career. But they never offered. Now they're offering ICE to capture
Nice.
people in America and US citizens and just go on the most racially charged bullshit bigotry in our history. Worse Like they're going to make it worse than the Civil War. That's what they want. They want it to be worse than pre-Civil War America for
Yeah.
rights that are not, if you're not in the robber baron group, you're out. Like they don't care about the MAGA guys. I don't, that's why we don't bag on MAGA themselves. That's why we're not ragging on most of those people. It's because most of them are just lied to. And we can't allow that. But going back to the flag, because there was something um I want to like, it's also something that I take really seriously in terms of flying a flag. Like, it's why when I got corrected, the first day I had my flag up, I got corrected and I fixed it. I looked it up and I fixed my flag so it was in the correct space. These people take our symbols and they ruin them.
Right.
They have corrupted the flag. They have made it so that if you see a truck or a car or a house even flying a flag, your instant response is, ugh, that's a
MAGA,
MAGA person.
Right.
MAGA.
I want it to be when I see a flag again, I want to see it next to a gay pride flag. I want to see it next to your state flag. I want to see it next to something that you have pride in, a flag that you have made, but a flag that shows acceptance. I want to see the American flag raised everywhere so people can go, "Oh, an American flag. Patriot lives there." And
Remember
then
after 9/11
they see
when
that
everyone
MAGA
had the
flag.
American flag?
Yeah, I want to see I want to see people who are flying MAGA flags and trying to fly American flags and having people take their American flag and not touch the MAGA flag, take their American flag and take it from them because you're not flying it correctly. And if you're a veteran, please try to remember you have a special responsibility when you fly your flag too. Lisa and I got into a discussion. Lisa Joy and I got into a discussion about she flies hers upside down occasionally, and I don't. I refuse to fly mine upside down unless I'm flying it outside my house upside down because the house itself is in distress. That we are in distress because it's a call for help. The federal government and bases, when they fly it upside down, that means the nation is in distress. But
Right.
as a veteran, it's my responsibility to fly it the way that it should be, unless my castle is under distress. If your neighborhood becomes under distress and you have a flagpole in your neighborhood or ICE is in your neighborhood and your neighbors are being taken, flip your flag upside down, bring it with you, and fly it in front of their fucking faces. What are they going to do? You're an American flying that flag. What are they going to do to an American flying the American flag in their fucking faces in distress, telling them that they are the oppressor? When government is afraid of the people, you have democracy. When the people are afraid of the government, you have tyranny.
I just
Pretty good summary.
I think here's
I
you
love
know I
ranting.
I I feel
This is fun.
ashamed. I feel ashamed
Mhm.
when I look at what has become of you know basically the people that I used to grow up around. What like look as I would say to those folks is like look at what they've done to the church. Now there's a reason I'm no longer a member that I left the church, even though because you didn't adhere to the teachings of Jesus, you said you did. Because that's what you raised me on, and you don't adhere to it. Look at what they're doing to our children, to women. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing to our fellow citizens. People, your own neighbors, right? Whether they're LGBTQ, whether they're immigrants, or whether they're people of color, it does not matter. They're your neighbors. And you are allowing you not only are you allowing this to happen, you voted for it. I it when I never had felt so much shame and just disgust this past election. I still struggle with it at times. I really do. That I mean, it's what spurred me to get on the Substack because it's because I had to put my voice out there and say this is wrong. It's wrong. It's not an America I want to live in. It is
Mhm.
I do not want. It's we're like here's the crazy thing. We're asking for the release of the Epstein files. You know what? We don't need to release them. There's plenty of victims that have gone on the record.
We believe them.
Go believe them.
Right. Go believe women.
Go believe them. That should be enough. That should be enough, but it's not. And so now we need these Epstein files. And the fact that there is even part of our society that says, oh, well, it's not a big deal, or oh, well, he did. No, no. This is the line in the sand. This is it. You know,
We
that's
have to
why
put a line in the sand.
yes, that's why I'm here with these two gentlemen. That's why we did Banner and Backbone. That's why we're talking to you today. Is there has to be a line. There has to be like it's like, well, everything's a shade of gray. No, because eventually, if you go too far, that gray turns to black. It goes to wrong. This is wrong, and we have to say that. This
We have
is
to say it
wrong.
loudly too. We have to be willing to say it loudly, and we have to be willing to say it over and over and over and over until they release the files at this point. Because, like Fred said, we know there is heinous acts in those files because we believe the women who
Right.
were raped when they were girls.
Yeah.
We need the files because what's underneath is the most destructive and corrupt thing that has ever been brought to America. And they are doing everything in their power to to not distract, but to get our attention away from it long enough that we forget about it. But it's not going to work because they have corrupted the entire system. They have bought the entire system to hide themselves, and they're going to tear down the government to hide a pedophile and sex trafficking ring that is international. And if reporting is correct at this point, ties directly to Putin.
And we're gonna have Ellie Leonard on, and she's gonna give her time. She's gonna have go through a lot of this stuff with y'all. She's not a whistleblower. She didn't have any extra access to any information or insider. She just compiled it with what's in the public record, and we know, who Donald Trump is. We know all this is the release of the Epstein files is the line. Because if we get that, what we're saying is this is it. This is the line. You go past this, uh-uh. That's why it's so important. That's why we're speaking out against it. That's why we're fighting. Every day you should be saying on Substack, wherever you are, hey, it's a great day, man. It was pretty sunny today, and release the Epstein files.
Right.
Mhm.
Be
Call your
like a
Congress people. Tell them to
be
release the Epstein files. We could talk about this
Cato.
for 24 hours straight, and it's still not enough.
No,
Cato said it like there. Part of why I say keep the faith, defend democracy. It's a callback to Cato when he would in the Roman Senate when he would deliver any speech, he would say, da 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 da. Oh, and Carthage must be destroyed. That's how you need to be with this. Release the Epstein files. Man, it was a great day. Or boy, I went out to a restaurant today and it was amazing. Release the Epstein files.
has to. Every single day. Every single day.
Be
And that's what we're going to be
relentless.
doing here too. As part of Banner and Backbone, is every day you'll see at least one message that says release the Epstein files.
Hey, anyone who speaks Latin, if you know how to, say, release the Epstein files in Latin, so that we can take Carthago et delendum and do the modern version, release the Epstein
That'd be
files.
awesome.
Do that. Tell us how to say that, and we will add that into everything we say and do and write.
It's like, hey man, the Broncos destroyed the Chiefs last night. Release the Epstein files.
Yeah.
You
Travis and Taylor were super cute on New Heights. Release the Epstein files.
Yeah, that
that's
new
it.
album with 12, that new album she's got coming out, 12 songs, release the Epstein files.
Right.
In
Yep.
fact, I hope she goes on tour and just sings the whole Epstein files. I hope someone gives her a copy and says, hey, Can you sing? I hope this is really just a psyop, and why the album is orange is she's actually going to go on stage and just sing the entirety of the Epstein files.
That's
Oh, I got it.
hilarious.
I got it, bros. Divulgare fasciculos Epstein. I'm putting it in the
Divulgare.
chat.
Wait, yeah, put that in the chat because I want to figure that out. I want to start putting that on all of our things.
Divulgare fasciculos Epstein.
That's it. Release
I
them.
love that there's fascilos in there
Right.
because
It's
they're
practically
fascist as
fascism, for fuck's
fucks.
sake. That's how amazing is that?
That's it. That's it, man. I and I mean, here's the thing. You are like part of, and I'll keep hammering this. Part of how fascists gain and keep power, and the reason it feels relentless, and the reason it feels like you're not getting a break, is that's by design. It is to make you think that you're powerless, that it is hopeless. They bombard you with bullshit, and like when I talked with Bob and I talked with Larissa, right? You don't get into the doom scrolling. If you feel yourself doing that, say no, 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 I'm not going to do that. Go somewhere that whether you got favorite writers, whether I happen to be one, it doesn't matter, or Lawrence or Nick. Whether I read Heather Cox Richardson, that's my morning paper. Heather Cox Richardson is my morning paper. I read her with my coffee. Like I've done that for years now. You know, you don't have to doom scroll. You know, you can be purposeful in how you use. It's hard, but you can do it and every little act that you do, whether it's big or small, it matters. It all stacks up. That's how you defend democracy. That's how you keep the faith. If you're struggling, reach out to someone, right?
Hmm.
Have in the military we called it a battle buddy. Have a social media buddy. Say, hey man, like man, this news that's come out about this it's really got me down. It's like, all right, let's talk about it. You don't have to engage in the bazaar of bullshit. You don't have to engage in the flooding the zone. You don't. That's not what saves democracy. What saves democracy are these little actions. What
Yeah.
saves democracy is you going out and saying, hey, like, what about this? Or, hey, should we go out and organize here? Hey, should we go? I've got a piece that I'll probably cross post again on Banner and Backbone where I say things you can do that aren't protesting. These guys did it. They put their tech skills to get Banner and Backbone up. I'm here jawing at you, trying to use what education I have, and passion I have to spur someone else to go act. There are things you can do. I'm just a guy who's a caregiver to two people. That's it. I'm nobody special. I'm just an American like you. That's it. You know, I'm trying to use what talent I have, what abilities I have to help save this country. It's no different to me when I raised my right hand and I took the oath of service. That's why Lawrence Winnerman has the citizen's oath. It's right on our page. You know,
Ooh, that is such a good segue, Fred, because we're going to talk about that next. I
I'm
just want
telling
to
you.
take a minute. I know you're on a roll.
No, no,
I
I
want
told you
to
I'm talented. I'm good at this, baby. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. You know,
He's got
even
10
4
minutes
hours
left.
in, woo, I'm still ready to cook, baby. I'm still
You
ready to cook. You
10
know,
minutes left in the first shift. Let's just give Frederick a hand, everybody. He has, for the last 4 hours, led this conversation and kept it interesting, kept it fascinating for all 4 hours. And this is almost one down and five more to go. I'm up next, starting at the top of the hour, 5 o'clock Eastern. I can announce that I've got Dana Dubois, my Gen Xe co-host, who's going to come and join us. So if one of you boys wants to take a break, we can get Dana on here. And
I'm pretty sure Fred should take a
Fred
break.
wants to volunteer as
Fred's like,
tribute
I'm
for a
out. I'm
break.
out. Please let me go pee.
oh yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
catheter hurts. I got to take it out, man.
Right. I don't know. Trump said that stadium, buddy. Like that should work, right?
The only person I know that Trump would like is Arnold Palmer. He likes the best, but the economy is getting smaller.
So smart.
Whereas Arnold always gets larger because the Palmers, those Arizona iced teas, his nice Palmers, their price is going up and up and up. So it's getting larger and larger and larger, just like
Oh
my good
boy.
friend
Oh boy.
Arnold Palmer, always growing.
So
Never
how this
showing, but always growing.
so how this is going to work for because we're getting ready to do our first transition. This live will end, and then Lawrence is going to start it. Same banner backbone. He will start it. So y'all are going to have to go over there because what we're trying to do with this is we're hoping that Substack will let us keep this live. It'll go to Banner and Backbone, and then we'll be able to republish each part of this 24-hour live, and that'll be part of it. And then another word is like, and and again, if you haven't subscribed to us, we're offering a special 24-hour
Yes.
marathon subscription. Now, I just want to reiterate, the only reason we're doing paid subs is we're trying to get that little check mark so we can kind of get a little more visibility. But all the money raised today, it's not going to me, it's not going to Nick, it's not going to Lawrence. It is going to go towards a charity to help victims of sexual assault, specifically Epstein files. We're still looking about who we're going to do that. And once we get that, we're going to let you know because there's a lot of people right now that are calling for transparency. Allison Gill's
Hmm.
one of them. She's got a FOIA request in to release the memo that was sent to those thousand of FBI agents on how they redact Trump's name from the Epstein files. She wants that released. That costs money. That costs time for lawyers, and so we want to contribute to that. And so today, what I can promise you is, if you are a paid subscriber today, every single dollar will go to a charity to help release the Epstein files. It does not go to us. And we appreciate all of your support. So if you haven't and you're watching us, please consider doing it. I don't want one for my personal page. I'm not asking for that. I'm fine with that. Today is all about Banner and Backbone. It is about
Yeah,
the victims of Epstein and Trump. That's what today's about.
And let's just
yeah,
do a little like pre wrap here where in the 4 hours since Fred has been broadcasting, 129 subscribers, 12 paid subscribers. It's not that we're going to be competitive with each other at all.
and
I need. Here's the thing: what I need from everybody when you go, I want you. So when I'm done, I want you to call a friend. I want you to hit up your favorite Substacker and say, "Hey, this is what these three guys are doing." I want my numbers. Blow them out of the water, right?
Yep. And when I hand it
I
off to
I
Nick,
want I want
blow it out of the
Lawrence.
water.
Blow it out of the water. Like, I listen.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to top yours though, Lawrence, because you got Ellie Leonard on for 3 hours.
You
You
did me a
got
kindness there, my
I
friend.
know I threw you the powerhouse, the muckraker extraordinaire
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
3 hour Ellie session where it's really going to be probably one of us and Ellie and a guest, and it's
Oh
going to be a
yeah,
lot of Lawrence and Ellie's just going to rock it. So
yeah.
so I
I
would
mean,
actually almost invite Lawrence to drop off now, get his started while we close this out, start getting people over there, him and
That's a
Dana
good
start
idea.
introducing it.
no.
And
I just want to
Fred,
say
you and
this,
I
and here,
close this out
I'm gonna say this before you go.
because we're
I'm
almost at
not going to be
300.
mad at the competition if you get more than me. What I am going to be upset about is you get Ellie Leonard for 3 hours, and all you have to do is that.
Yeah, you just got to
Oh
sit there
wow!
and look
Oh
good,
wow!
brother.
Come on,
I mean,
Frederick. You think
The
I'm not
woman's
going to
a
grab the
machine,
microphone every
dude.
once in a while?
She's a
She's a
machine.
fuck. Oh, she also, I listened while I was listening to our live stream earlier to plug Ellie even more. We also recommend her as part of Banner and Backbone. When you
For
Yes,
sure.
subscribe to us, she is one of our recommended subs. Please
it
follow her, subscribe to her
amazing,
too. She is amazing. She
amazing
is
work,
amazing. When I
amazing
say
work.
muckraker, that means if you don't know what the definition of a muckraker is, that is an investigative journalist. That is the heart. That is the beginning of investigative journalism. They raked through the muck and the shit and the grossness to find the truth. That's what she's doing. Ellie is a muckraker extraordinaire. I am
She
so excited to have her on the show with us. So please subscribe to her too, and
Hot
don't
damn,
and follow.
we're at 295. We're about to wrap up this first 4 hour stint of our 24-hour marathon with 295 people watching.
What a freaking start to the day, y'all.
I
This has
want to
been
I just
incredible.
want to take the time again, everyone who's here, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for spending time with us today. Seriously, I'm humbled and
New paid
honored.
subscriber.
Yeah, I'm
Boom.
humbled. Thank
We'll
you so
count that one
much.
for Lawrence. We'll count that one for Lawrence.
Of
Ah, come on,
course.
come
No,
on. That
we'll
goes to
count that for
Fred.
Fred.
Don't
It's
cheat,
still below
Fred.
the hour.
Hey,
It's still below
listen,
the hour.
it's a team effort.
Hell yeah.
I'm the leadoff hitter.
It's all for all of us.
Listen, you guys, I'm telling you right now, you are in for a treat. If you want to know publicly how bad the Epstein files, from what we know publicly, Ellie Leonard will tell you. I've read her writings. What is when you hear what she has to say, you're like, man, why are these guys, are so like so incensed about this? Listen to
Oh,
Ellie Leonard.
Yeah.
She'll
she
get you there.
plugged us.
And
She
She
will
plugged the
get you there.
three of us. She plugged the three of us in her latest podcast that she put out. I listened to it while you were on earlier with Larissa and Bob while I was listening on to both. And I had her on double speak because I was like, oh shit, I gotta listen to Ellie so I know what she's talking about. And then at the end of her show, she plugged the three of us. You know
nice.
why? Because we bring her on here and we listen to her because she's freaking awesome. She knows more than I do. She knows more than Fred or Lawrence on this. We
Yeah.
don't have the
For
time
real.
to do it. She does. She is the professional. She's made it her career to be an American hero, unbeknownst to her. Accidentally, she will live on in history for America because of the work she is doing right now.
And I'll be honest,
So
if I had a nickel for every time I was in a room with a woman who knew more than me, I would have like
I'd
63
be
nickels.
so fucking rich.
Like 63 nickels. At least. Probably more. At least 63.
At
You
least
you were
60.
gonna get us canceled in one day, Frederick. You know you would be a fucking billionaire. Let's be
He'd have
real.
What?
all the money.
I'm fairly convinced, and maybe this is because I'm a gay dude. I'm pretty convinced every woman on this planet knows more than every man on this planet. So
Well,
let's
you know what
just
I'm
that's what I
pretty
used
sure
to
that's
tell.
true too.
This is what I used to tell my, it's like my ex-girlfriend. She'd say, "You never think you're wrong." And I'd say, "No, I was wrong one time." And she'd say, "Oh yeah? What was that?" I said, "This one time I thought I was wrong. Turned out I was right. I was wrong about being wrong."
I was so wrong, I was right.
And there you go. That's his wrap up, everybody. So, Frederick,
All
go
right,
take a break. I'm going to drop from here and go start the other live. Everybody, please come over and join me. We are going to start with Dana Dubois joining me and Nick, it looks like. And then Ellie
Yep.
is joining us at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's currently only 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
So, in 1 hour, she will join. I'm dropping here. I'll see you guys in a minute.
See you in a
Thank
minute,
you,
brother.
everybody. I
Thank you,
appreciate you
everyone,
all.
for joining us today so far.
Yeah.
This has been incredible. Please tune in
Yeah.
next. We got 20 more hours.
That's it. I'm gonna keep it honest because we're military. I'm gonna go right to the 1500 mark, and then I'm gonna cut it. There it is,
There it is.
folks. Thank you so
Later.
much. I
Later,
appreciate y'all.
brother.
Bye. There we go. End it. End it. There we are. There, come on.